Fucking Craig. Hey, everybody. Howdy. Hello. Salutations. Konnichiwa. Uh, Hola.
Guten Tag.
Ohio would actually have been more appropriate because it's still morning as we record this. This is critical. We don't have a subtitle anymore. I'm Mongo, joined as always by my co-host Liger Boost. It's been 2 weeks, and we have a mountain of news before we really even get into Toy Fair. I mean, we had Mattel reveals the day before. We have the whole fucking ringside saga and that whole thing. There's been a bunch of I kind of want to save the WWE 2K stuff for the end because I haven't been paying super close attention. Um, but it's just a mountain of fucking bullshit. And how are you this week, bud?
Not too bad. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been a normal week. Yeah, and I don't nothing specific happened this week. Everything was fine. I actually want to thank people for sending some messages out asking about my mom. Because I talked about she had a stroke on the last episode. She's been completely fine. She's just at the hospital now. She was taking back like a monitor that she had to have on for I think a day or two. But yeah, she's been absolutely fine, no issues at all. So yeah,
That's good to hear.
yeah.
I've had 4 good days in a row, and I have not had a streak of days where I didn't have any bad thoughts last that long in literal years. Like we're talking, we're talking like back into my 20s, maybe even my teens. We're like 15-ish years removed from my teens, so that tells you how miserable I am.
Hmm.
I went to the comic shop on Wednesday. I had bought a couple of issues of Absolute Batman. They had issues 2, 3, and 5 in, and then I noticed that issue 4 is getting a second printing that comes in on the 12th, which is the day issue 6 comes out. And I was like, oh, that works perfectly. I can just get 2, 3, and 5, and then read 2 and 3, and then get 4 and 6, and then read the other 3, and I'll be caught up. And then, as happens every time I go to the comic shop, I didn't just leave with what I came there for.
Yeah, of course.
I walked over and I saw they had issue 4 of Wolverine Revenge Red Band, and I asked one of the guys if it'd be possible to get the issues 2 and 3 that I missed, because honestly I forgot that comic existed. And he kind of was like, well, the average lifespan of a single issue is like a gallon of milk, and he gave me this whole thing, and I was like,
Oh, what?
like, okay, man. Like on the shelves, like nobody wants to overprint, which I understand, but like my question's a yes or no question. Like, do you think I'd be able to fucking order them? I got to the counter and they were able to, and we'll see if they come in. And then like I saw that like David Michelinie did like a Venom comic called Separation Anxiety, so you hit me right in the fucking nostalgia for that game. Grabbed the first 2 issues because they didn't have issue 4, so I figure I'll grab the first half of the arc and just see if I like it. I still haven't read them. I grabbed issue number 1 of the new Ultimate Wolverine comic. They had a facsimile printing of Uncanny X-Men 268, which, for those that don't know, is where Wolverine pals around with Captain America and Black Widow and Madripoor. It's called Madripoor Nights, which they did a 4-issue series of last year, which is great. It's also written by Chris Claremont. And the thing that I love about that, those facsimile issues have the original ads, all of them. So like the NFL Pro Set trading cards, there's an ad for like Child World, there's an ad for like Narc on the NES, there's like a Konami or Ultra Games, I'm sorry, ad. And then the guy who was at the register was on the phone, so I just kind of like sidestepped and walked over, and I found have you ever seen the X-Men the animated series comic adaptations? They're called like X-Men Adventures.
Yeah.
So apparently last year they did a trade paperback of those, collecting the first 8 issues from the first, we'll call it the first season.
Right.
I didn't know that existed. That thing is the same exact trim size, 6x9, as the Mighty Marvel Masterworks and the Marvel Premiere books. Flipped it over, saw the price, said, God damn it, you're coming with me. And I get to the counter, and the guy rings me up, and there's like a quirk with my bank card that like, over so many dollars, I'll actually hit the overdraft fee. Under that threshold, I won't. And he tells me how much my order is, and he's like, oh, by the way, you have $10 in rewards points. Do you want to use that? And I did the math in my head, and I was like, that puts me 10 cents under the limit where I would get the overdraft charge. it like because I didn't know if like the charge would go through like immediately, and I was like, yeah, let's fucking go. And just I got home and I devoured issues 2 and 3 of Absolute Batman. That book is fucking awesome. And then I read 2 issues of X-Men Adventures. I read the first issue of Ultimate Wolverine. I think I might be all in on that book. That's some really good shit. I didn't read the 2 Venom issues. They also gave me the like preview catalogs for I think it's Marvel, DC, Image, and IDW. So I just thumbed through those on the way home, like, oh my god, look at all this shit that's coming out. And then I was like, I need to stop looking at this because money's a finite resource, and I don't need to be spending all of it
Indeed.
on books. But when that day was over, I was like, I had a pretty fucking good day. I also got burgers from the local place there in Lima, Cupie. If you're from West Central Ohio or Western Ohio in general, you know about Cupie. If you've ever been to Lima, you've probably eaten there at least once. And that was nice. I always enjoy going there. And then Thursday I went back to work because I had Wednesday off, and I kept expecting Thursday to suck, and then it didn't. And then I kept expecting Friday to suck, and it didn't. And then I kept expecting yesterday to suck, and it didn't.
Oh, I had
It's like we're 4
I, I told you something that happened to me this week.
Oh,
Regarding, yeah, yeah, I had some shitty days this week, but then after it was over, I was just like, yeah, it is what it is. You know, I'm getting some money in finally. You know, after work at some point, so you know, whatever. I just sent you an image of some comic series I think you might be interested in.
let's take a fucking look at this. Well, a mark is a guy that thinks he didn't do it. So
For those, well, obviously no one can see it, but it's like an O.J. Simpson uh comic book. I I don't know where that came from.
yeah, me. Jesus Christ. Who published that? Was that Valiant? It has to be Valiant, right? No, it wasn't. First Amendment Publishing.
What?
He said, she said, Comics presents. I'm sure they do. Also, on the second cover, Nicole Brown Simpson kind of looks like Beulah McGillicuddy. What the fuck? God, that's demonic. That's demented. So yeah, a lot of action figure stuff to get to, and we'll go, I guess, kind of in order. Was it on the 20th? Ringside had put out a teaser for something called Unsanctioned Classic Superstars with no other information. And as you can imagine, people fucking went in 9 million different directions with this. But Kyle Peterson, who I'm a big fan of the channel, love the guy, he's fun to watch. He somehow just random speculation thought these were going to be Jazzwares style bodies. And then on Thursday the 26th, it gets revealed that goddamn, they're Jazzwares style bodies.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, those are Jazzwares molds. Ringside is insistent that they aren't. And honestly, if you look at like just some of the engineering with the figure, it's clear that they aren't. Like Tom from Ringside has gotten really defensive about people saying that those are Jazzwares molds on wrestling figs. And, you know, with any Ringside line, I think we talked about this on Wednesday when they were revealed. It's the Road Warriors are going to be first because when they did the bell to bell figures, the roadies were first.
Yeah.
So they're like the Red Pads ones are based on like independent appearances where they basically wore the same gear that they did in the WWF. And then the variant 2-pack, which I recognized it immediately when I saw it, is based on them in 1996 New Japan. Like right down to Animal basically having like they look sort of like the Wembley 92 tights, but Hawk has like the LOD tights where it's like the white instead of the red designs on the tights. And everybody that I knew, their immediate reaction was, where's Power Warrior?
Yeah, exactly. That was my reaction too. That attire they wore against I'm sure they wore it for multiple matches, but the one that came to my mind and I looked it up was against Sting and Kejimoto in '96.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely Power Warrior. I was like, I need that. Like I don't expect it. Um, but it would be very, very cool if we got him. I did end up ordering the variant yesterday. It's a lot of money for me, but I was like, God damn it, dude! Like, I want Road Warriors. I can't get the old Mattel ones because they go for a lot of money these days.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
so I was like, I specifically got the variant because it's a different attire. Um, the red attire, I've kind of gotten sick of it because it's like,
overplayed.
yeah, exactly. It's like if you're doing any line of figures, it's always the red, right? Like the
Yeah,
bell to bell, it was the red, and that was their WWF attire. So it's like, well, they were more than that. So let's give them something else. So when I saw that variant, I was like, yeah, that's the one I'm gonna go for.
I bought both sets because
Because you're crazy.
I'm out of my goddamn mind. Ringside's website. Now I've been going on Ringside for 25 years, going back to the days of dial-up. I have never experienced Ringside running as badly as it did for about the first 10 minutes after those were announced. Like Jesus Christ, it was brutal. And like I was trying to pay with my debit card like straight up, but the page wouldn't fully load, so I had to back out and do like a PayPal payment. And like I'm seeing everybody on fucking like wrestling figs and like friends of mine on Instagram are like, God, these are gonna sell out before I get them. And I got my order in. And then I kept worrying because, like, usually Ringside's pretty good about shipping the next day. I understand they got bombarded. These sold out in 3 hours. And then, like,
Yeah,
at some point on Friday, my FedEx app popped up with, like, this has been picked up for, and I was like, oh, thank God. I'm not going to have to wait till June
I
because
was
they
I
did go
was
back up for back order.
yeah, I was reading on the forum, and I don't know if it was I think it was the admin. I think you said his name's Tom, right?
Yeah.
Um, I could have sworn he said like, yeah, they sold out. We don't know if we're going to be making more. Or
Oh, that's Jack Specific, the guy that first founded the board. Yeah, he posted that. Everybody freaked out. And then, like, the next day, they had them up for back order.
yeah, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, how could you not? Like, that's the thing about some of these smaller companies or independent companies. It's like they only have a certain amount. It's like there's a higher demand for them. You need to at least try and meet your demand. So I was like, what the fuck's going on? And
And
yeah, I was happy to see them go back up. Obviously,
we have to talk about this too. Notice nowhere in any of what we have said did we say the words pre order.
right?
These dropped 4 p.m. on a Thursday. Nobody knew what the fuck they were. Nobody knew they were coming. They were in stock immediately. And they were $55 initially. Ringside did what they always do when something gets really hot and it's about to sell out. They jacked up the price to $59 and they still sold out in
Yeah,
3 hours. Like it was
there's there's
ridiculous.
there's already some reviews up on YouTube. There's a channel I can't remember. It was Alex something who's
Oh, that guy's
compares
a
them.
moron.
Oh well, I'm just saying that he's someone that's got them and was comparing them to the Mattel and stuff. So
They're
there's
they're
already
skinnier than the Mattels for sure. They're
yeah,
way more in line with like Jazzwares AEW.
and you can remove them from the at the torso, right? Which I guess is like a Jazzwares thing as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's cool.
Somebody was suggesting like the skin tones might match up such that you could just swap like pop the Samoa Joe arms off at the bicep cut, put the animal arms on, and just swap that torso onto the animal, and it would be basically perfect.
Yeah.
I I like the way they look. They're bulky, but not bulky enough, which is one of the it's like my big nitpick with it. There's some skin tone mismatch issues too, which makes me think they might be using a Jazzwares factory. Um, but the head sculpts are really good. The paint apps all look really good. Those are the most detailed roadies shoulder pads we've ever had. They're also fucking massive.
So when do you think they'll put up the NWA version?
I mean, shit, they got to be coming soon, right? You've already
Yeah.
got the parts tooled, and
Yeah, I mean they've got to.
also found out via Facebook that legendary Japanese T-shirt designer Haru did the box art for those.
Oh, okay.
And I think I said this to you when these were revealed, but between these and the Battle 7 Steiners and hunting down Haru to do the box design, somebody at ringside really likes Japanese wrestling.
Well, shit, if they do, they need to get Kensuke on the phone and give us that power warrior, because like I won't feel like my figures are complete until I get him.
I'm in the same boat, unironically. And like Brian Myers did a live unboxing. I tried watching it at work in the break room, but anytime I try to watch anything in the fucking break room at work, people are just being loud and obnoxious the entire time. So like I had to wait till I got home. And Brian Myers mentioned specifically when he went to ringside to pick those up, he suggested every ECW wrestler imaginable.
Yeah.
And they also revealed a bell to bell figure, which is far more in line with the current superstars of Sabu. And just, you know, we all like to connect the dots. There's zero fucking chance Sabu isn't coming in this line. There's no chance we're not going to get it.
Yeah, that hopefully will make up for the Cella Uncensored or whatever the hell it was called. I can't even remember what it was called. The Cella one.
Uncensored, I believe.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what, yeah, uncensored, because these are unsanctioned. And also, I watched the early drop of the major pod, and I don't know if they edited this off, but they speculated like, oh, maybe they'll do like the Ruthless Aggression style, just do better versions of the FTC figures. And we talked about this. Obviously, we haven't recorded in 2 weeks. We've messaged each other a bunch. I do not want that fucking style of figure to come back. I'm so tired of these nostalgia lines, in the sense that, like, how to put this? Here are figures that are a tribute to figures from 20 years ago, which they themselves were a nostalgia line. And here are these bodies that you thought looked like shit 20 years ago, and we're going to make them again, because when everything that's old is fucking new again, everybody loves this shit. It drove me up the fucking wall to see that speculation. Like, oh, I'd really love to get a Ruthless Aggression Macho Man. Yeah, I would have liked one too 20 fucking years ago. Yeah. I don't want one now. I don't like the idea of one now. I don't need one now. And I was kind of hoping that's what they would be, just for the sake of saving me fucking money, but you know, it wasn't meant to be. And yeah, that is what it is. I like these roadies. Tom said there's figures that are going to be following closely behind. They're not going to commit to announcing dates or whatever. There may be some pre-orders mixed in with the in-stock drops. But this whole thing changes everything, because you can't be Power Town and shit on Zombie Sailor for like, oh, we cut our steel up front and we can't believe people wait this long. Okay, well, Ringside said nothing. Drop these figures. These 2-packs are only $5 more than a Power Town Ultra. Justify the $50 price tag for anything Power Town does now. These figures have more articulation. They have more deco. Maybe not more deco than the Majors figures, but the Majors are sickos, and they're going to make sure that their figures have everything. But more articulation, more deco, more swappable parts. And the head sculpts are actually appropriate, unlike Ultra Series 2, where everybody has a neutral portrait and a smiling portrait for no fucking reason. And by the way, Remco's were supposed to ship in January. It's March 2nd. We have no clue when they're shipping. So they're going to miss the mark on the TNA and Ultra Series 2 figures badly. And I know that they're chomping at the bit to do the MLW Galoob pre-order. I hope that thing bombs. I hope nobody buys any of that. Do not give them your fucking money. Force them. And by the way, that Southward Communications PR firm that they've signed with, they have a bunch of people at Toy Fair, like a bunch of the companies they're working with. Where the fuck's Power Town? Toy Fair is where you go to like get retail partners on board for the coming year. All that shit Rosenthal talked about with fucking, we're going to be in Walmart and Amazon and Target. Like, there's the event where you could have got in. Why the fuck didn't you?
No, they're constantly dropping the ball. Every time I think of that company, it's like, how long are they going to last?
I would be very surprised if Power Town still existed at the end of this year. Or at the end of next year, because I think they'll worm their way out of 2025, but I genuinely... 2025 is going to be the year that things change rapidly and very, very, very harshly for a lot of indie companies. WWE's gobbling up talents so that Fanatics can make merch of them. which means if you don't have some of these guys under deals, you're fucking never going to.
Yeah.
That unsanctioned classic superstars drop changed a lot of people's expectations for independently produced 6-inch figures, and I think that's justified. I also think it's not the same situation as what Zombie and Mitch are doing. I don't know what Mitch is doing, actually, ever at any point. But like, if these figures feel like Jazzwares and the Zombie figures feel like NECA, I can say this having got my Mirage Turtles in. Those Turtles figures feel a lot better than the Jazzwares AEW figure in hand. So if that comparison holds and it is closer to being apples to apples, I think I'm fine with whatever Zombie charges to a certain point, but it's going to be way harder to justify $40 plus for those figures now.
Yeah.
And there's already people asking Ringside to make all of the people Zombie has under deals. And these Road Warriors look really good. I don't think Ringside has a shot of producing a Bundy that looks as good as Zombies. But
no,
price point and good enough is the thing for a lot of people. So we're going to see, but this is going to be a real interesting year for wrestling figures. And I'm looking forward to seeing how things shake out.
Yeah, I'm very curious as to seeing who else they got. Obviously for the belt to belt, they also released the Steiner brothers. So would they have been able to get them before they signed their WWE deals, like for the unsanctioned line? I don't know. And yeah, obviously Sabu would get one as well, but who else do they have? Yeah, it's going to be super interesting, and we'll see who survives, basically.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen to like Zombie makes a lot of money off those figures and also just has a lot of money. So I don't he can piss in the wind for a little bit, I think, and he might be all right. Epic does very strong numbers. They also do made to order. So I don't know what the overhead is versus what they make back, but I can't imagine Epic's not turning at least a small profit off of this stuff.
They also do some cool names that nobody has really done, right? Like Barry Windham now and Steve Williams and stuff like that.
That was another name I thought a lot of people suggesting to Ringside was Doc, and fuck
That'd be very cool. Yeah.
Make slightly bigger arms than you already have. Other than the legs and arms, you basically already have the body for Doc between like the lower torso piece and the actual torso. They have it from Animals, so
that would be his first figure since
Classic Superstars in 09.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Amazing figure. I don't know about Mitch. Mitch seems like the kind of guy that would just fucking throw money into the ground. I don't know if the grapplers and gimmick stuff. I don't have a beat on how much he's actually selling. It can't be that much. But also, like with Epic, they're not going through the full like ABS plastic, like quote unquote real toy production. They're going more with like the PVC, which takes less time. It is cheaper. So we don't know, but there's like that WrestleFeds company, that's gonna stink quick.
Like your first announcement is British Bulldog, which everybody has done, and then your second announcement is Tatanka, which Mitch is doing as well. So it's like,
it's three versions of Tatanka from 1990 fucking 2.
Yeah, isn't there any original names you can sign?
Like, we're gonna get into it because we gotta talk about the Kayfabe Wrestling Collector thing in a minute.
Oof.
Yeah, actually, I want to get really mad before I talk about the one thing Mattel showed that I was actually really excited about. So, Fig Heel, that dumbass, and Kayfabe Wrestling Collector did a live stream yesterday, which was Saturday at 2 p.m., saying that they had tons of reveals and news, and they talked about like the distribution network, and Sean NG from KWK was like begging eBay sellers to reach out to him. So we all woke up to the news that J&J Figures had $15 max moon, and after a certain date it goes up to $19, and everybody's like, wait, how the fuck? And then Fig Heel opens up the stream like, oh, you bought a factory, didn't you? And Sean immediately did not want to talk about the details. He said he made a significant investment on the production side. something to that effect.
If
And now,
that's gonna put the prices down, can everyone do that, please?
I mean, it's a significant investment. He's also from like Hong Kong,
Right.
so they're probably a little bit more willing to do business in that way.
Yeah.
But I agree, like whatever would get the cost down. But also, like they showed 4 versions of Ox Baker, and unlike when he was initially shown, there's no overshirt and there's no stretcher, so the figure's like $16 now, and that's great. But it's Ox Baker. We don't know if he actually wore like, did he ever actually wear yellow?
Oh, I have no idea.
And it's the KWK line, so the figures I've heard they're really nice in hand, but they also, for as much as people want to say certain retros look cartoony, his are the most cartoony looking to me.
Yeah,
And
I think I agree with that.
they spent like 8 minutes, by the way, talking to Paul Diamond, who at one point his cell phone service just shit the fuck out, which that was hilarious. That's why you don't do these things live. And then like they brought in like the guy who sculpted him, and then they brought in fucking Grapple Arcade, and it was just like flipping through the 4 fucking renders for like 8 to 10 minutes, and then they brought on fucking Barry Horowitz. Now, there's 4 different Barry Horowitz variations or variants. There's the green trunks, there's the blue trunks with the Star of David, there's the fucking suspenders, and then there's the black trunks with like the hands on them.
Yep.
And they spent of this 2-hour stream. Hold on, let me get a counter to do this on. They spent 28 minutes talking to Barry Horowitz. Because if you ask Barry Horowitz something, he's just going to talk. You've never met somebody who accomplished so little that has such a high opinion of themselves. He just like went on and on about every attire, and they just keep flipping through the fucking figures. And then Grapple Arcade talks for like 4 minutes about seeing him at a fucking house show in '92, and then he tells Barry Horowitz like, "Oh, one of my friends always backyarded as you." And like,
what?
The one thing I could think, and I hate that my brain immediately went to this, was like, you're from England. Your friend, like half the people that like wrestling over there seems to get outed as nonsense. Your friend's a Barry Horowitz fan. There's no easier like, oh, that guy's probably a nonce than somebody who backyarded his fucking Barry Horowitz. And then Barry Horowitz shits on Zombie Sailor. Like, oh, I've been around for 20 and whatever years, and you're going to make somebody who's been around for a year or two or a lawyer. It's unprofessional. And it's like, yeah, but you got paid up front, because everybody does with that line. And also, here's just the reality of it. You're Barry Horowitz. Name one person that's been solicited for pre-orders and released by Zombie who's going to sell less than Barry Horowitz.
Maybe Bully Busick.
Bully Busick was a limited edition, though.
That's true. I did see your comments. I saw your comments in the chat as it was happening, and I saw that people were unhappy with you.
They fucking told me to leave. It said I shouldn't be eligible for the giveaways, and I'm just like, I'm here to see Tenyu and Bull Nakano, who they didn't even show.
I know.
Because once they were done with that, they go to a Berserker prototype, which isn't finalized. It's not finalized.
Yeah, so
in 15 minutes, they spent 15 minutes on it. And here comes Grapple Arcade again to just start talking, and I'm like, tons of reveals. There's been 3 fucking figures, 4 if you count fucking Max Moon. But like, there's been fucking 3 new figures shown, and then they start talking about all these unreleased figures, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm turning this off. These aren't reveals; they're unreleased items. Who gives a shit? We're not getting a Hasbro style Laredo kid. Who gives a fuck? We're not getting a Hasbro style Sam Adonis. Who gives a fuck? If you watched that whole stream, you wasted 2 hours of your life, and the only takeaway is this guy is making cheap retros of people I would never buy figures of otherwise.
Yeah, that Barry Horowitz segment was like 6 matches he would have had on Saturday night with the time it took, you know?
I made a joke to somebody that Barry Horowitz segment went longer than most WrestleMania main events.
Yeah, it was brutal, dude. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, are we still going? Like, what is happening? And yeah, they didn't show any of the figures I wanted to see. Bull, Tenryu. I would have liked to have seen Kabuki again, you know?
Apparently none of them are coming this year.
Yeah, that's that. Well, there wasn't Bull was listed in the 2025
Oh,
lineup,
shoot,
right?
you're right. You're right. I was
Yeah,
thinking of Tenyu and Kabuki. My bad.
yeah.
We're getting
So
well done this year, though.
we're getting who?
The only
Sorry.
people who might well done. The
Oh
only people who
yeah.
might sell less than Barry Horowitz, because who the fuck cares about well done?
Well, hey, well, one of them roommated with Bull Nakano, so yeah, there's a relation there, I guess. I don't know.
Well, maybe they
Um,
could do a 2-pack.
it was excruciatingly bad. I just couldn't believe that I wasted all that time in my life listening to Barry Horowitz verbally pat himself on the back, and then literally I um I felt sad for myself, and I think my family is ashamed of me.
Well, I'm not ashamed of you because I also watched like the majority of that. It was funny because my mom kept getting up and coming back, and she's like, "He's still talking." And my friend that I was on the phone with was like, "This is Barry Horowitz, man. You ask him a question, he'll just talk for an hour about himself. He's a fucking job guy. I don't get it."
God,
I
dude.
like. Have you ever seen a clip where somebody called him a jobber and he got like really fucking defensive about it? Like I could go out there put over Hakeem, or I could go out there with Shawn Michael, and have a 20-minute match. And it's like you never did that, Barry.
Hmm.
Never. At any point in your life, did you go 20 with Shawn?
In his dreams, he probably did. Um, yeah, I was super disappointed in that whole thing. I mean, I think it's cool that the figures are cheap anyway. Like that Max Moon I bought originally, and I got it cheaper anyway because I had like money off from getting a question right or something. Um, but
Oh,
yeah, they signed talk on. I guess that right, and I got like a discount. Um, that's on wrestling merch now. That Max Moon, and it's like 22 Canadian. I think it comes with shipping comes to like 40, which isn't bad. So I mean, it's cool that figures are being produced for a cheaper price point. I just hope that also goes for the ones I care about. Like I would probably double dip on the Bull after the Cella because the Cella is not that great.
no,
I
the
think
shell's horrible. I'm mad at myself for buying it.
Kabuki looked really cool when they showed the render of it. Tenryu obviously is like would be awesome. So those ones would be super interested in. But other than that, the other ones that are coming out this year, I can't see I had really any interest in at all.
Yeah, it was real disappointing. And then Mattel on Friday, they dropped some really interesting looking stuff. We're getting another Ultimates Edition Greatest Hits wave that has like a redeco.
Hmm.
Razor Ramon is getting the green gear from the Raw 30th Anniversary Elite box set. And honestly, man, I have the one that's like based on his TV debut. I might double dip just to get a Razor attire that's one that I actually have like a fond memory of. Because the green gear is what he wears against Bret Hart at King of the Ring '93, and on top of that, it's his Player One costume in WrestleMania the arcade game. I wish it was his
Right.
Player One costume in Raw for the Genesis, but then again, he's got the red from Rumble '93 in that game. So like, two of my favorite matches of his. Um, I thought that looked really cool. I know you're really excited for the Awesome Truth and Triple H box set. I hope they get that up there in Canada.
I, I saw that and I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Who is that for?
I have no idea. We don't get anything here, by the way. Like, I went to Walmart a few days ago, and it was like Anna Jay and like Jungle Boy and like the Hall and Nash superstars and like nothing else. They were that actually they had when I went a few weeks ago, they had a display for the Royal Rumble with the main events, the new basics, and those were selling now for like $10, like Drew McIntyre and Austin and a few others, and you never see anything for that price here. So that was kind of shocking. But other than that, there's like hasn't been anything new in forever, and I think that's going to be the case. I don't think we're going to be able to get anything here, which is sad. I haven't checked Toys R Us yet, but the last time I checked them, they had nothing either. So I think that's the way things are going to be from now on.
I like that we're back in the era of getting like the 3-figure box sets like we used to get in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But like, man, can we get one that's like actually interesting? Like that NWO one doesn't do shit for me. The
No.
Awesome Truth one doesn't do shit for me. I mean, maybe if Kmart still existed and you put the NWO one there, I might feel compelled to do it just because I passed up the original O2 NWO box set at Kmart. But like, I also just think those figures look like shit.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would buy them. Like, goddamn, no, no, thank you.
And they also showed what I think might be my favorite Mattel figure this year, which is crazy because we're getting like 7 different Great Mutas. Magic Olmas did it. He was the architect behind the Monday Night War wave with Lawler and Prince Albert and Muta and Hogan for President Hogan. His first Ultimate that he worked on is a Steve Austin figure that does not have like Bryan Danielson sized arms, doesn't have scrawny ass legs. They tooled a whole new fucking torso for him. It's the best Austin figure we've gotten since the Jax 2-pack with Bret Hart. And what was that, fucking 2007?
Yeah, probably something like that.
And I made the comment, it only took 15 years and a change of designers to fucking get a Steve Austin that actually doesn't look like shit. And I saw like some people in a Facebook group when I was like, this is what happens when you give Magic the fucking ball. And they try to be like, well, look at the AEW line. The AEW line wasn't his fault. Everything good about those figures was on him. That's all his design. That's all like the bodies being what they were and us all thinking these are like great figures. That's all him. That's his design. All of the factory fuck ups and shit, that's out of his hands. He can't control that shit. The DIJ being fucked up, he's not the one operating the machine at the factory. The design and the input, that's all him. It's factories fucked everything up. You see this here, and my friend Kara said it, he's got a way greater pool of resources. I bang on about the molds that need to be retired, and I stand by it. But like, yeah, that Muta's using a really old torso. They also sculpted a new one for fucking Prince Albert. They're only going to be able to use that one time. Because I'm pretty sure like the necklace and like the other parts like of the singlet straps, those are all sculpted. You're only using that on fucking Prince Albert. That's a one-time use unless the greatest hits him later. And then I thought about how like he's over from the vault line, and you see like they're doing in defining moments, they're doing One Night Stand 05 Heyman, which is one of those like, why wasn't it done earlier? Oh, because they didn't have a designer that wanted to make it. That's why. And it's crazy. We might actually be getting some good shit going forward in the Monday Night Wars line instead of. I got to tell this. I actually got the Luger yesterday, and I got in the car and I showed Mom that like one of the Luger heads has no hair on it because they did the swappable hair pieces gimmick.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so stupid. Why would the screaming head not have the long hair on it by default? Is there anybody out there that has the figure? Are any of you planning on putting the ponytail hair on that head? If so, why? Find me evidence he ever did it. And it also just looks like shit because I swapped it on there. I was like, yeah, that looks awful. I'm putting the fucking mullet back on him.
Yeah, they had that on Walmart.ca and like it sold out instantly. And then they had like Booker T and a few others and they sold out instantly. And then Luger went back up and sold out instantly. They're like impossible to get.
The Canadians know Luger's the fucking man.
Yep.
And it's such a great figure. Like I bang on Bill a lot, but also you got to try really hard to fuck up 1997 Lex Luger. Like I hate the Batista torso, but have you fucking seen Lex Luger? That shit works.
No.
And the head sculpts are great. The attire is super simple, but like it's Lex Luger. The fucking logoless big gold, like seeing that in person, I was like, God damn, we really haven't gotten this belt and figure form since 2005. They retired that shit with the Great American Bash 05 Batista. That was the first one with the bigger big gold that had the logo on it. And Mattel never did one without the logo. If we would have got the Nitro Proud Fund, the Hogan would have been the first. And having said that, I like that Rick Rude and Lex Luger are the first ones to come out with the belt, not Hulk. Just, funny how it works out. But that Luger's great, but I'm also happy the Bill's not on that line anymore. Magic has pretty decent instincts when it comes to how to design figures. You saw with Muta.
Yeah.
The 2 attires he picked are like, would you look at the NWA attires they did in Ultimate Form? He did the other 2 attires. Like, if for some reason this is the only year they can put Muta stuff out, at the end, if you look at the elites and ultimates, I think I might actually be happy with what we got.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like the as you said, you've got the NWA, and then you've got the NWO, and like the end of his WCW run in 2000 with Vampiro, and then you've got like the retirement Muta. Those are all really great figures. Obviously, there's more I would love to get, like the white attire against Chono,
Mhm.
blue, the skull mask that he was also wearing in like 96, 97.
Yeah,
Uh,
Battle
the
Formation.
the attire against Nita would be actually really neat because that was an awesome attire. The Spider Muta from All Japan, if that's possible. Um, the Jason
I
X
think the only
style.
reason I think the only reason we're getting the New Year Muta from the Nakamura match is because that's like WWE affiliated.
Right, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And it's a great
I
look too.
love like Jason X Muta, but that's like a
Yeah,
whole like movie rights issue. Mattel doesn't like getting close to stuff like that.
yeah. It's makes you think of King of Colosseum 2 as well when you see that attire because I think that was like
Yeah.
the default in that.
Yeah, that's also the first screenshot I saw was Muta hitting the Shining Wizard, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's in a
Right,
video
yeah,
game!"
yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, if we could get the white and blue from the Japan Super shows, which it's uh, what was '92 called? Was that's what is the Japanese name for the '92 Tokyo? Because I know '93's Fantastic Story in Tokyo Dome. Was '92 still Starcade in Tokyo Dome?
I think it was, yeah.
Like if we could get those, that would be cool. But like if we don't get them, just get like given what we've got, like I'm cool. There's always going to be
Yeah.
like I'd like every attire, but like they did a good job. And the superstars one looks really cool. I like that there's two heads with each figure, like we thought. So like you're going to be able to mix and because like all of those face paint schemes work with both bodies.
Yeah, it's just awesome that we're getting Muta figures. Um, because obviously besides Bandai, I mean we haven't really had, any I would say like proper figures since like the character products, right? So to have like all this Muta stuff now is just awesome. I know it won't happen, but I do wish we would get some like Keiji Muto stuff. Like but I know it's not going to, but like the orange trunks and the like an NWO attire and stuff for him would be fucking crazy.
Yeah. Also, the wave that he's in for the superstars line, there's a silver and black tank top diesel with the diesel power shirt, which is cool. There's
Right.
the two different Mutas. I think Black Pants Muta with the green and blue face paint heads. That's the chase. We're getting Zeus, which is cool. They still have him under a deal, and then we're getting Iron Sheik, which is a 2-in-1. He has like the dumbass shorts. You take those off. He's in
He's ripped as
the
hell in
blue
that figure.
trunks. I mean, he was at one point. Not
Yeah, just
not when he had the shorts.
it really stood out when I saw his. I was like, holy shit. Looks like the Hulk.
I'll also say if you don't have the shorts on him, the arms are not accurate because I don't think he actually wore wrist tape with the trunks.
Hmm. No,
He might
I
have
don't
it.
remember. I don't remember when
But
wrist tape with the pants either.
yeah, actually, now that you say it, yeah, I don't know.
'Cause the original LJN didn't, and he didn't with the attire and Legends of Wrestling and any matches I saw. I don't remember him having them.
Yeah, no, you're right. We also saw the Ultimate Edition WrestleMania 20 John Cena. This
Yeah,
figure would be great if somebody would take that fucking torso away from Bill. 2004 John Cena was ripped. He was not like super bulky. So if you put like this figure, '04 Eddie, like '01 Angle, they're all bigger than goddamn 2000 Rock. And none of those guys were bigger than 2001 Rock. Cena was more shredded, but
the
he was
first
never
image
like,
the first image I saw that was him wearing the hat and him holding his coat closed, and it looks like he's gonna flash someone. I was like, what the fuck is this?
oh, that's the
And I was
Mania
like,
22 Elite. I have no problem with
oh,
that figure.
oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I was like, what the fuck? Because I couldn't remember what it was from. And I was like, is this flashing John Cena? Oh, okay. I guess that's what it is.
But this one comes with like the modern WWE mic, so we're not even gonna. fucking deco the old logo on anymore.
Mm.
He's got like the Mark Price jersey about as close as you can get to it, but like they have the Rick Rude torso right there, dude. It would work perfectly for John Cena. He does not need to be the same size as Batista and Goldberg in the Ultimate Warrior because he
Yeah.
never was.
I'm
And
sure
I
we'll
saw
be.
people, oh, this is perfect, and it's like, fuck you, no, it isn't.
I'm sure we'll be talking about Elimination Chamber later too.
Yeah, yeah, I have thoughts. I've seen a clip of the angle. I didn't watch the show. Um, we also saw the Jacob Fatu Elite, and I think we saw both members of God, yeah, and Godfather Solo Sikoa. The one thing I want to talk about in that set is they made Jacob Fatu like really skinny, and then they went the complete other direction with Nia Jax. They did her dirty with this.
Jacob Fatu is also like really skinny in 2K, and someone posted like his when he first did a run in, and he was actually quite skinny when he first came in, and you know he put on weight easily, but yeah, he was super slim when he first showed up.
Yeah, I guess I kind of vaguely remember that. It looks weird. Also, I have the MLW figure, which I'm never going to take out of the box because apparently the MLW wave and the new Boss Fight Collectors wave have like massive QC issues.
Hmm.
Um, but the Boss Fight figure is good enough for me. Um, he's rumored to be in an Ultimate wave for either late this year or early next. So we'll see how that shakes out. I couldn't get past that Nia Jax figure when I saw it though, because like maybe that's a mold from like 2018, but like, do you remember when they did the Vicky Guerrero figure that had the Kelly body, but they put like the padded clothing on it to make her
Yeah,
appear like
I remember that.
this feels like the opposite of that. Like you're just making somebody unnecessarily big.
I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it's I don't know.
They did a variant of it too where she's in red and black. Like it's on, I just sent you the link to the Major Pod post about the set. Also, in terms of figure news, figure collections, Wrestle Something Wrestlers went up on Friday, and they had a surprise, which is the red, gold, and black attire of Crush from King of the Ring '94 is included. I'm gonna have to get that. Oh, did you just see the Naya?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. Like
Yeah, it
that
is.
feels a little mean spirited.
It does, yeah.
Um, I've wanted this version of Crush like forever. King of the Ring '94 is one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views. I love the match with him and Yoko against the Head Shrinkers. I think I mentioned this when they first showed Crush, but like I'd really love King of the Ring '94, so it feels like I know they didn't, but it feels like they made this one for me. But I'll be buying it. That and the card art looks great. Unlike the Hasbro Evil Crush, both versions of Brian Adams have him as Evil Crush on the card. These look great. I don't have any of the other figure collections retros in hand, so I don't know. Like I can't attest to how they feel. A lot of people really like the Macho Man one.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, I
do know
haven't.
that.
I don't have any of them either, but they seem pretty good from what I've seen of them. Like I don't think any of the designs are bad or anything from what I've seen of those. So yeah, I was interested in that Crush as well, but after getting the Road Warriors, I gotta slow down a bit.
I do kind of want the Mance Warner figure as well because I was a really big fan of him in like 2018, 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And I was there for his AEW debut in Columbus, and then they didn't sign him. So that sucks. He rules though. Mance Warner is fucking great. Um, so Toy Fair, the majors have a booth at Toy Fair. They're doing big rubber guys of Rambo, Jesus Christ, and Kickboxer. They had a Rambo like prototype on hand. Kickboxer, they just had like the input sketch. Their little like 2.5-inch Major Stars line, Series 2. They mentioned, I think it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Slaughter, and Ethan Page. They had a Sabu on display. They said they didn't know if he was going to be part of that wave or if he was going to be an exclusive. They showed off the big rubber guys Danhausen hand painted prototype. But to me, the biggest thing that they showed was the poster for Series 13 of the big rubber guys, which is going to be the Islanders, Tama and Haku, Kerry Von Erich, clearly based on the WWF run, and Bruiser Brody, who had been announced. Was Brody announced like one of the ones they announced at like Comic Con last year? They just didn't say like a roundabout when he would be coming. I think that sounds about right.
I think so. I can't remember exactly.
Um, the renders all look great. Like I could see why you would want the Islanders because they absolutely fit with the 87, 88 era LJNs. They're also doing King Haku for Wrestling Collector Shop. Those look really cool. I have to buy Brody. It's Brody. And I'm real on the fence about Carey. I would prefer if it was more like world class Carey because that feels like it's more era appropriate. But like
Yeah.
we went so long after those Mattel figures getting no Carey figures. We got the two Power Town ones and then nothing again. I think I might want this one too.
It's a cool looking figure too. Like the purple attire really pops out from the. Yeah, definitely his WWF run.
Yeah, that was like with the WWF run, it's either like we got the red for the Hasbro and the yellow for the Mattel.
Yeah.
And neither of those, like the purple is what I think of if I think of Kerry in the WWF. I have no idea why. I can't think of any match specifically where he wears it, but that's like the default gear in my brain for Kerry. And McFarlane showed that we got to talk about it. McFarlane showed renders for the Mortal Kombat Classic figures, so the retailer leaks were true.
Sorry.
I don't like that they didn't allow photography at Toy Fair. That feels really shitty. Maybe Todd's going to do a video from the floor at Toy Fair showing them. I don't want to get excited based on renders. Also, like the Liu Kang body is the Liu Kang body from the Mortal Kombat 11 figures. I'm like 90% sure of that. My big complaint is Todd sticking to the 7-inch scale. You have all of these other toy lines and also sticking to his articulation scheme. How do you not take a look at Jada Toys? How do you not take a look at Storm Arena? Like you're basically going to be running with Mortal Kombat bodies that you developed for fucking 2019. And that at a $25 price point or a $20 price point, whatever they're going to do, lack of accessories, lack of articulation, completely out of scale. This is basically a line you make when you know that there's no other option, and that kind of sucks. Having said that, it is really nice that everything he showed, with the exception of like the variant Sub-Zero, they're all clearly like Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah, I mean I would have definitely preferred Jada or Storm Arena. I do agree that I got I just got the Chris Reeve Superman yesterday. And obviously that's the same 7-inch scale, and holy shit, they do take up a lot of room. I've got a whole shelf of like the McFarlane DC line, and yeah, they're bulky, and there's not a lot of space when you put those on a shelf. And I don't think the Mortal Kombat line. I mean, we talked about it on the previous episode. I don't really think they suit that, and you're right about like the articulation stuff. Those figures, every time I get the DC ones, they're very stiff. Like the knees to move and the arms and stuff, they're very, very stiff when they first come out of the package. And yeah, I think when you look at obviously the Jada line with the Street Fighter, something like that is definitely more suitable for a Mortal Kombat line. You want to probably, if you're somebody that wants to get Mortal Kombat line, you want to pose them on a shelf and their victory poses and stuff like that. And McFarlane's just don't feel like they're built for any of that. Mine are sort of like just in a default stance, most of them on a shelf. And that's also because like I can't put their arms out and stuff like that because they're just too wide and like there's no room for anything else. But that being said, if like that's my only option at that sort of price point, then it's hard for me to turn down because this is exactly what I wanted, right? Like I wanted all these classic designs, so I can't help but be interested in them.
I also think I think my biggest problem with Todd is he's always prioritized sculpt over articulation.
Right.
And you can have both. Look at Storm. Like Jada Toys is a great example of like we're gonna have nice sculpts, but the articulation comes first. And like those Street Fighter figures are so like you take them out of the box, you grab the figure, and it's like immediately you're posing it. I've never fucked with like any toy line where it's like I took Fei Long out of the box and in like half a second he was basically in his default fighting stance. It was crazy. Like they're just so easy to move. And like I have the Mortal Kombat 11 Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And I remember getting these at the time and being like, wow, these are really detailed. And then I tried like moving them at all, and it's like they can't really be moved. These are more like they're statues that pretend like they have articulation more than they're, proper action figures. And I like Todd McFarlane. He's one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. He revolutionized the toy industry in the 90s. But his figures now feel like they're lagging way, way behind. In truth, he always has. Like, right? Like, the articulation has never been the thing with Todd. There were points where he basically did Spawn figures that were just statues. Sports picks have just been statues. But it sucks to see this because, like, we were all getting excited. Like, Figure Arts is doing Tekken now. They had the Game Dimensions Tekken line. This Jada Street Fighter line dropped. Then Storm were like, hey, motherfuckers, we're getting in on this with Alpha 3. And then you see, like, the Alpha 3 teaser and, like, the 6 figures they've got coming. And I can't wait to see what Sagat actually looks like because they weren't at Toy Fair this week, so we don't know when. But, like, you see all of this stuff, and then, like, I would have been really excited about those McFarlane Mortal Kombat figures, like, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And like I said, like this is one of those like it's the only option we've got, so whatever kind of things. Now, if at Comic-Con Storm shows up with like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 Storm Arena figures, fuck Todd.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way around it at that point.
I mean, I would like to see them on a shelf if I buy Mortal Kombat figures. I'd like to see them on a shelf, being a similar scale as the Street Fighter figures, right? Because that's sort of like the dream matchup. I don't necessarily need to see them on the same scale as like Robert Pattinson's Batman and all the other DC figures I've got, right? So yeah, as you said, like if Storm or Jada were to do something, that would be the number one. But if McFarlane's the only thing I've got to go with, then so be it, I guess.
Speaking of DC, the news dropped. The speculation was that Hasbro might be picking up the DC license. Well, we found out not the case at all, not so fast. It's going to be Mattel starting in the second half of 2026, which I didn't have that on my bingo card. And the way the wording is it's still very strange. McFarlane says he's got Super Friends and Super Powers for 2026, but apparently Spin Master was asked, and I guess their stuff stops in 2026. The way it was worded, again, very confusing. Mattel doesn't have any DC stuff at Toy Fair. I was told by somebody who has a pretty good idea, like, you're probably not going to see any of this stuff until Comic-Con at the absolute earliest, because Toy Fair it's just not the big event anymore. I've seen those Mattel figures from like right before the line ended. They were not good. They're also from an era where the WWE figures weren't good either. But I will say this, take a look back at 2019 WWE Mattel, take a look at 2024 WWE Mattel. Things are a lot better now. Even look at He-Man Masterverse from 2021 compared to now. The figures are so much better now.
Yeah.
The problem is... Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say, well, you go on, actually. I'll say it in a second.
The problem is both of those are 7-inch lines, which is not Marvel Legends scale. And we don't know because nobody's been asked. There's not been any information handed out. Are these going to be 7-inch scale? Are they going to try to be 6-inch like they used to be with Marvel Legends? What are we looking at in terms of like priority between comics, animation, television, movies? Like, are they going to lean more into the movie stuff like Hasbro did at one point, especially with, they're really going to try to push the DCU over the next few years? Are they going to make time for the comics figures? Are they going to try to do something like the Maximum line or more in line with like the WWE Ultimates? Like, there's so many questions I have that I don't think we're going to get answered till like bare minimum Comic-Con.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about like are they gonna match like Marvel Legends and stuff like that, I mean, I would hope so. Um, you know, we were just talking about McFarlane, and one of the things is that they do them in 7 inch. They don't seem to give a shit about the Marvel Legends line and matching them up and thinking about sort of like the dream matchups and stuff like that. But they should think about that. Other companies should think about that. If you have someone else releasing like a comic brand or wrestling figure brand or whatever, then you should be able to think like with the consumer in mind, like, oh, we should make something in a similar scale. So, I think they would help sell your figures too, because like people are like, oh, I can put this with my Marvel Legends and stuff, right? I think that makes sense. So yeah, I would like to see the DC line in a similar scale as Marvel Legends, but I worry about myself because like I've got all these DC McFarlane, and am I gonna see like a Batman Begins and be like, oh, I need to get that because that's the way I am. But I also had like the old Batman Begins line, which had like Ra's al Ghul and like Alfred and stuff like that and Gordon. And I can't remember how big those are. I don't think they were that big. But I don't want to be like I don't want to have to collect all the same stuff again. Um, I know McFarlane's doing the Superman movie, so I don't know where Mattel is going to start off. Like I guess whatever movie's coming out around that time, maybe like Supergirl or something like that. Um, but then I'd want to buy it if they do like Supergirl and they do it in a smaller scale, then I'd probably want another Superman to go with it. So I'm screwed.
I mean, there's always like offloading the collection. I know that that's,
Yeah.
believe me, easier said than done. I get it. As
Yeah.
I look at a whole bunch of shit that I want to just fucking jettison out the door as quickly as possible. I um I don't blame anybody honestly when a new line starts if they don't like if they feel like "Ah, I don't want to do this. 100 fucking percent. I understand it. That's kind of like I'm not the biggest He-Man guy, but like I see the Mattel Masterverse stuff, and I dipped my little pinky toe in with that in 2021 for the Netflix show, the Kevin Smith one. The first half that everybody pissed their pants over, and then the second half was awesome. Um, like I bought the He-Man and Skeletor because I was like, these are the two guys, and I'm just gonna build out from here. And I see like the vintage quote unquote Skeletor that they just did for Masterverse. It's like on sale like on Walmart's website right now. That thing looks awesome. And then you have Mondo doing like the 2000s He-Man in 1/12 scale, and it's like I don't need to start another collection. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't need to.
Right.
Um, I just hope that like McFarlane doesn't go crazy cutting corners on the DC stuff towards the end, like companies tend to do
Mm.
when they lose a license. Because I mean, those last few years of sports picks before they got rebooted after the absolute failure of starting lineup, like those were just like we're gonna do basically the same players every year, minimal effort. Who gives a shit? And I don't want to see him do that with DC. I think DC deserves a little bit more dignity than that. Um,
Yeah.
but we're gonna see. Like, I hope the Mattel stuff's good. I hope everything's good. But then I hope it. I also hope it's not because I don't want to have to feel like I might want to spend money on it.
Speaking of like He-Man though, did you see the behind the scenes of the movie and the poster for it?
No,
Yeah, there's some pictures of like He-Man with police officers on set, and the poster is just like the sword, basically. Um,
uh,
yeah, I don't know how that movie's gonna turn out. Sounds weird.
I did see something in like the Google recommended news that like the whole cast had leaked, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna look at that.
I can't even remember who's in it. I know Jared
They don't
Leto's
have Zach
Skeletor.
Efron as fucking.
Yeah,
Oh no.
that might have just destroyed the fire right there. I think isn't Idris Elba in it? I think can't remember.
Yeah, he's Man at Arms.
Ah, okay. Um, yeah.
Why do I know the name Alison Brie? What was she in that I've seen?
Oh, she was in like she's been in a lot of stuff. She was in Glow.
That might be where I recognize the. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't seen the poster or anything for that. I did see people speculating like if McFarlane did the Storm Collectibles deal of only having the rights to do the classic games, but then what constitutes classics? Because now Mortal Kombat 11, the last game he worked on, is 6 years old,
Right. I mean,
and that
if he
worries me a little bit.
if he just has like the older games, then that suits me perfectly fine. I mean, we haven't seen Johnny Cage, so that's one I'd like to see. Like, would they go with? They'd probably go with Mortal Kombat 3 or Trilogy, right? He was in Trilogy, I think.
Yeah, because they had to
Yeah,
reshoot his character. I don't think they would touch Mortal Kombat 1 or 2 Johnny Cage because
yeah.
that's like a potential like legal issue or whatever. Because the dude that played Johnny Cage in those games ended up suing.
But
It was the whole fucking
they
deal.
they probably wouldn't even have his license, right? Like the Liu Kang, I don't think looks like the actor that played him in the games necessarily. I think it just sort of looks like a generic head, really.
It kind of looks. I need to look up the Mortal Kombat 11 Liu Kang now because it might actually just be that same head. Which, if so, I'm going to say a lot of mean things about Todd because Jesus Christ.
You've got to
Oh,
refresh my memory because my memory's awful. The Liu Kang that they showed the render for is that MK2 or MK3?
I'm pretty sure it's two.
Right, yeah, because I'm gonna see in 3 he had longer hair, right?
Yeah. Also, that might be the same head sculpt, just with a different hairpiece.
I don't think so, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Why does Molina come with a bald head?
Oh, that's a faceplate. I'm like 90% sure.
Oh, okay.
Like you'll be able to pop the face off. Like that's
Yeah,
a thing that like figure arts does.
that makes sense.
Looks like Sub
Yeah,
Zero's got one of those too. What is the variant with like the ice on the arms? He doesn't look like that in any of the old games.
that's like the 2-pack with Molina, right? Isn't it?
That's that's certainly how they're pictured.
Which is strange because why those two?
Yeah. And also, why do these look like they have more accessories than any of the other figures in terms of what? Like Sub Zero just has hands. Scorpion's got a hand and the spear. Liu Kang's
Yeah,
got hands. Katana's got a fan. We're selling these for $20
it's
or
weird.
25.
You think it'd be Molina and Katana and then Sub Zero and Scorpion, or maybe they're mixing matching and think they could get like better sales if they put an alternate Scorpion in a 2-pack or an alternate Sub Zero in a 2-pack. I don't know.
I gotta watch because I think these were revealed at like IGN Fan Fest, right?
Hmm.
I guess I gotta watch the stream with McFarlane, and I don't want to sound like I dislike Todd McFarlane because again, like one of my favorite artists and one of my favorite like action figure designers, but yeah. Oh, is he
Should
not
watch.
actually? Is Todd not actually there?
Oh, probably not.
Damn. Also, they've got Turtles figures coming, and it feels
Yeah,
like
so
every fucking toy company has a Turtles license at this point, except Mattel.
pretty much, yeah.
That's crazy.
There was a lot of like cool random stuff shown too. There was like a comic Crow I saw somewhere. I saw a Hellraiser line, which is kind of crazy and cool. Um, I don't think this was that Toy Fair, but there's someone that's making all the villains from RoboCop, which is really neat and stuff like that. Like, all sorts of different things. We didn't see any updates on those Bloodsport figures so far, which kind of disappointing because I don't think they've actually
I think
officially
they'll
announced.
probably be at like Comic Con or like Power Con or whatever the deal is at the end of
Yeah,
the month.
probably. Also, going back to the Mortal Kombat figures too. Like, I'm wondering, as you were saying, like how far does that license go? Like, could they make figures based on like the first movie? Could they make figures based on the new movie? Because that would be neat.
Fuck the new movie. Give me like Mortal Kombat 95. Jesus.
I mean, they had a few of those in the game, right? In 11, they didn't get was it Robin Shue, but they got Lyndon Ashby and Christopher Lambert and Bridget. Bridget, what's her name again?
Bridget Wilson, maybe? I
I
don't
think
remember.
so. Yeah, I was thinking of Bridget Nielsen, but that was the Drago's wife. Yeah, Bridget Wilson. They had them.
And
So
they
I
got
mean,
Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa.
yeah. So maybe there's something could be cooking then. That would be cool.
I'd be very tempted, even with all of my issues with McFarlane, to grab
Can they
that
get
line if they
the
did Mortal Kombat 95.
Can they get the WWF doctor that played Sub-Zero in that movie?
Fucking Francois Petit.
Yeah.
I remember when I was watching Rock Mankind, because I watched that match like 30 something times in 2020, and somebody mentioned him by name, and I'm like, I know that name. I know that I know that name. And I was like, hey, can you say the name again? And I looked, and I typed Mortal Kombat movie in because I was like, I know it. And I scrolled down, like, oh, it's fucking Sub Zero. Yeah, that's who that is.
Me and my friend used to quote him all the time because he's in Beyond the Mat. And it was after Rock and Mankind, and he's like stitching him up and stuff. And he goes, "It's just a boo boo." And like me and my friend, when we were in like middle school, used to say that constantly because we would. I think my friend's dad was a big fan of that movie. He wasn't necessarily a huge wrestling fan, but he used to watch that a lot. Like he loved that movie, so we would always quote that. And finding out he was Sub-Zero was like, what the fuck? The guy that's like the small doctor guy in WWF. That's crazy. But it's one of those random trivia things, like Jeep Swanson's daughter on OnlyFans, as you said a few days ago.
Oh god, okay, I gotta fucking real quick, also Storm Arena Street Fighter Alpha 3 Ryu. We got the full reveal, it's up on Big Bad, $27. If that thing
That's
comes out
sweet.
this year, it's probably my figure of the year. So Jeep Swanson's daughter. Content warning for anybody that doesn't want to hear about OnlyFans. So my friends and I the other night were watching the Doomsday Cage. And my friend was like, have you ever went on Wikipedia and seen how like weird of a picture they have of like Jeep Swenson? And I'm like, no, why? And I go and I'm like, oh, that's his wife and his fucking daughter. I wonder whatever happened. So I click the personal life thing and I say his daughter's name, and my friend's like, why does that sound familiar? And I'm like, yeah, why does that sound familiar? So I Google the name and the Instagram account pops up, and I'm like, oh, I've seen her before, but this isn't the name that I know. And then my friend found the Instagram with the name that I did know, and I was like, gotta do a Google search now. And I ended up finding a video from her OnlyFans while I was watching the fucking uncensored 96 match, and I went, all things being equal, not for nothing, I don't think any of us expected to find this out about Jeep Swenson's daughter when we woke up this morning.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking her for having an OnlyFans page. Get that money, girl. But then I found like the gimmick name is Viking Barbie, which in itself comes with some connotations. And then you don't have to search too far to find out she has a white pride tattoo. And I was like, that checks out.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. Hard left turn there. But yeah.
Yeah. The Ultimate Solution's daughter. Who would have thought?
Well, he was originally the Final Solution, so it tracks even better there. For
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
Exactly. Yeah.
Holy shit. Jada Toys
Also,
apparently isn't a toy fair. I wanted to see some Street Fighter stuff. I just wanted to say that.
I just saw his Wikipedia profile, and that picture's quite funny.
Dude, it's such a weird fucking picture. It's like sepia tone. He's
It's
just like sitting there bald with no shirt on, and they're all looking at him weird and shit.
That's gonna be the image for the episode, I've decided.
I was about to suggest that, yeah.
His head is so funny shaped, and his like shoulders too. It looks so bizarre.
That man was on enough steroids to kill both of us.
Yeah.
He played Bane. Apparently Vader was originally like considered for that role.
Oh, really?
Yeah, imagine how much funnier that movie would be with Vader in it.
If they let him speak with his actual voice, that'd been fucking cool. I guess he just grunted in that movie, didn't he?
It's been a long time since I've seen it,
Can
honestly.
you, can you imagine like Vader doing like a Tom Hardy impression though?
No, but I kind of want
No.
to know what Tom Hardy doing a Vader impression would sound like.
Oh God, I don't know. He's pretty talented. He probably could do it.
Yeah, he probably could, honestly. Oh my god, I have a coffee in the refrigerator? Why the fuck did I drink that before I yelled about Barry Horowitz?
Oh wow.
Damn, I'm going to be real awake for the rest of this podcast. Uh, I feel like there was something else we were going to talk about. Not WWE 2K, not Elimination Chamber. I feel like there's something else we discussed,
I'm trying
and
to
I'm
think.
fucking blanking on it.
Excuse me. Um, there's a bunch of stuff that's happening in the 2 weeks. There's the WB Games thing.
Oh
Um,
Jesus, yeah, we didn't talk about that.
yeah,
So WB Games, in their infinite wisdom, closed down a bunch of studios. By a bunch, I mean like three really big ones, including the one working on the Wonder Woman game. And what we found out in the wake of that cancellation was that they fucked with those developers, and a lot of those developers left and joined EA and are now working on the Black Panther game. So
yep,
I went from, in about 5 seconds of reading the leak about that Black Panther game, I went from being like, "Oh, this might suck," to actually, this might be all right. This might hit.
yeah. Um,
State of this fucking industry, man.
I, I read everything that happened about that, and I was like, I hate the video game industry. Um, it's
That
torn
game was going
itself,
to be good.
it's torn itself apart just by greed and their inability to understand what consumers want. And I've already seen like the shitty fucking YouTube channels saying it was destroyed because of woke and DI. Fuck you. It's because of this bullshit microtransactions and live service and all this bullshit that they wanted to do. They had to restart the game because it was going to be live service originally.
Which is
Um,
fucking insane.
it is,
You
yeah.
have the team that did Shadow of Mordor, and you want them to make a live. No, make fucking Shadow of Mordor with Wonder Woman. Then you find out they rebooted the game. Guess what it was going to be? Shadow of Mordor with Wonder Woman.
It'll be interesting to see if anything leaks from that game. Um, we've seen like a bunch of leaks recently for all different stuff, so I'm curious to see if anything comes from that. Um, yeah, I
Apparently, at some point this month, we might be hearing about the God of War remasters.
oh yeah,
But we've been this month. We might hear about the God of War remasters. Has been something it feels like I've been saying for years now.
I just feel like every time something like this happens, like a cancellation and studio closure, I'm just like, I don't want to have anything to do with this industry anymore. And then, that's why I'm like, I have so much faith in like independent products because they don't have these higher ups that are gonna fuck everything up. Like stuff like Axe of Blood and Karate Survivors and stuff like this really piqued my interest over like major titles because you never know what the fuck's gonna happen next, right? You don't even know if the shit's gonna make the shelves, and if it does make the shelves and it's a really good game, they might say, "Oh well, you haven't sold enough anyway, so we're still gonna close you down. And it's not gonna be a sequel. The
Like
game's dead."
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's like no
that
faith.
pissed me off.
There's no faith into anything that they're doing now. Like with movies, it used to be like you could go see like a great movie. Like I love Dread. I saw that in the theater for like there was like two other people there, and I wanted a sequel for years, and a lot of people asked for it. But the movie it didn't do well. So like I understand why they wouldn't invest in a new one. But like you see these video games and you hear about how many copies are sold, and it's like, oh, that's got to be enough. And they're like, oh no, well it actually wasn't. We're closing it down. It's over. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, how am I supposed to be invested in anything these days, right? Like, unless it's something that's like a guaranteed sequel, because it's a long running franchise that does really well. You expect me to buy a game, and I don't have any faith that it's going to last. Like, why would I? Um, it's just incredibly frustrating, and it just feels like everything is destined to fail because the way the industry is at this point. It's like it's never enough. It's never enough sales. The reviews are never enough, and then this and that. And it's just I fucking hate it.
I mean, you remember when the Insomniac leak happened and we saw what like the budgets were for fucking
Yeah,
these
insane.
it's like $300 million for Spider-Man. So you have to sell like 6 million copies of Spider-Man to make this work.
Yeah,
How does that make any fucking sense? Like what are we doing as like an industry and as a consumer base? Like what is the priority here? And I was thinking this morning about like all the stuff we've seen for the Insomniac Wolverine game, and I know I ran about that game all the time. Kiss my ass. Not you, the listeners, or anybody, just in general. But like I watched some gameplay from that again, and you know what the game looks like? It looks like Spider-Man.
right. Yeah,
Like it looks like they're like, oh, this is good enough. through emulation, I've been playing X-Men Origins Wolverine again, and I don't understand why we need to reinvent the fucking wheel when Raven Software did that shit 16 years ago with a minute fraction of the budget that this game's gonna have.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's insane. I mean, they're talking about the new consoles, right? And like, to me, Switch 2 makes the most sense in the world because like it's Nintendo and they're gonna release new games, their own games and all that shit, right? It's like that makes sense. Okay. But when you're talking about like a new Xbox PlayStation where like most of the exclusives are out the window, it's like what are you doing that you need to release a console for, a new one? What innovations are you gonna have? Because you didn't really do anything with PS5 and Xbox Series X. I mean, I don't touch them. So it's like why would I
But
fucking
bro, ray tracing and AI upscaling to AI frame generation, bro. And it
Yay.
doesn't matter on a lot of fucking games.
No, it doesn't. Like, there's a reason,
And
like, I'm enjoying, like I said, these independent products and games from years past as opposed to these games that are coming out now.
also, shout outs to C Drive, I believe it was on Blue Sky, for linking me to an Amazon page where they had Steam keys for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2.
I
Paid
didn't
full
even know they
price like a
sold
fucking
those.
mark. Huh?
I didn't even know they sold Steam keys on there.
Yeah, apparently they do because I got them and I redeemed them and they were in my Steam library. If they ever check the cameras at work, there's like a 10-minute span where I'm just on my phone trying to figure out how to fucking redeem a Steam key from like a browser. Because I'm a boomer in that way. And dude, both those games, they're listed as playable on Steam. They run like a fucking dream. They're like smooth as butter. Especially coming from somebody that has been playing the PS2 version of Ultimate Alliance 1 and the PS3 version. PS2 when you can get to kind of sort of maybe do 60. It's not the smoothest 60 you've ever played, but you can get it. PS3 version I couldn't get above 34 frames per second. Playing that game at 90 hertz on my Steam Deck is like fucking, it's like walking into Toys R Us and right there's your favorite toy right away. It's just goddamn.
Yeah. No, it's very cool that those went up there. So I think there was Deadpool went up as well, right?
Yeah, but I don't have like the attachment to that game that
No, I'm just saying that was another one that was on Amazon. I saw that on like Wario 64 or something. Posted that was there.
yeah. Those games need to, like, whatever the licensing issue is, just your Microsoft do a fucking like license in perpetuity deal with fucking Disney. Jesus Christ. Those
I mean,
games should always be available. Always.
yeah. Actually, so I was watching a video on like the X-Men. It was on delisted games. It was Austin Eruption on YouTube, and one of the games you mentioned that is like you can't get anywhere is the X-Men Arcade when that was on Xbox 360 or Xbox Live years ago, and I was like,
Yeah,
really?
PS3. Dude, I had it on my fucking original iPod Touch.
Oh no, yeah, I had it on Xbox as well. I was just like, really? You can't get that game anywhere now, other than like
No,
buying like
because it was,
a one-up arcade or whatever.
yeah, so like they made mention, I think, when it was announced that like it was like like a limited licensing deal with Marvel. It wasn't even up for that long, like a couple of years, I want to say.
God, yeah, that's. And he said like he's like this is one that should be available everywhere, and I was like, yeah, that's you would think, but yeah, I don't know.
Especially since Arcade One Up can license it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like we'll talk about Terminator 2D momentarily, but like in
Ah,
this era of like the fucking turnkey nostalgic arcade games, how the fuck did Marvel let Insomniac lock up the X-Men license so we can't get one now? Can you imagine how much fucking money they would have made last year when X-Men 97 was hot if they would have dropped an X-Men 97 game?
yeah, that would have been super super cool.
I would have crowbarred that into being a special report. It would have been 3 hours of me just playing the fucking game on my PS5 talking about it.
You think with all like
Like,
the yeah, like all the licenses like Rita's Rewind, the Power Rangers and like the Turtles and GI Joe and all that shit, that the X-Men license would have been perfect for something like that. So yeah, it's kind of shocking that they aren't able to do something like that.
Simpsons too. Like, how can we not get a proper sequel to Simpsons Arcade?
Exactly, yeah. That was another one. Didn't they make like a sort of a remake type thing on mobile or something at one point?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like in the same vein as like WrestleFest, where it's not the original, but it's very much inspired by it.
Just none of the heart, artistic
Yeah,
integrity, intent, or personality of the original game. But
exactly.
WrestleFest pissed me off because, like, you literally cannot pin the AI in that game. You have to play as somebody with a submission finisher. Because when the AI kicks out, they get their health back. And that piece of shit Marcus Stevenson, who used to be like the THQ community manager, like, oh, don't you remember how hard it was to pin people in the original game? Motherfucker, I beat that game with 1 credit when I was like 11 years old on Rain on a Saturday night after eating half a large pizza and drinking fucking like a 2-liter Mountain Dew by myself. That game ain't hard. It's really not. And
I
like people tore him apart for saying that shit too, which that was like the last time I had any faith in the WWE games community.
was also
But
like that game just looked really bad too compared to the original.
yeah, I didn't hate the way it looked because I knew they were never going to make it look like the original. Like I got what they were going for, but like, and by the way, I had all the DLC for that game, all of it,
Hmm.
like the Nitro Ring, all the character packs, everything. I was all in on that. Just that game. I'm gonna keep it a buck. That game's the whole reason I got an iPod Touch.
Hmm. I've only
I
played
remember
the leaked Xbox version.
I remember you shitting on that game on Fire Club. I'm almost certain it was you. So I thought you'd played it.
I think
Um,
I was shitting on it based on what I had seen.
mm,
But yeah, I didn't get to actually play it until that Xbox One, that demo came out.
there was potential there. Like if they patched like the HP bullshit on the AI, I wouldn't be as negative on that game as I am. But like, yeah, that was a thing. So Terminator 2D,
Wah!
I
I
like a lot about it, but it also goes into like this is my friend Kara said it. This is the equivalent of like getting a mid-budget PS2 game now. Is we're just going to do the 2D nostalgia game. I will say this: this game is not a side-scrolling beat 'em up. This is like a Contra clone, and it looks like there's a shit ton of variety with the game. The animations are really pretty. There's a ton of frames of animation, and I saw an article that basically was like, yeah, this is basically like a modern equivalent of like what a Genesis game would have been. And I'm like, yeah, it is. There's nothing wrong with that because this looks
yeah,
good.
yeah, I brought it up previously because it was on like a ratings board somewhere, the title of the game. And I was like, I hope it's something that it's inspired by like the Terminator on Sega CD, because that's a really super fun game. And so yeah, I was looking forward to see like what it was going to be when the announcement was going to come out. The trailer just popped up on when I was working on Twitter, and I watched. And I was like, holy fuck, this looks super cool. And yeah, Variety. There's like Sarah in the hospital, and she's like sneaking up to take out the guards and stuff like that. And then there's straight up like action missions, and there's like mini games where you have to blow up the police car outside the police cars outside Cyberdyne without killing all the cops and shit like that. And oh my god, like the style is like so cool. And yeah, I was just super pumped when I saw it, because obviously like I'm a huge Terminator fan. I'm trying to get a review key from them. But I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But
Get to, I'll review that some bitch. I'll play it on Steam Deck.
yeah, I had I uploaded the trailer to our YouTube channel. For those who don't know, it's at Critical Pod on YouTube. Which is it's a little different than the one that they actually released, because at the end it just says 2025, but that's the one that they include with the press kit. So I don't know. But yeah, like there's also like there's different endings to it. So it is like a recreation of T2, but there's like, as I said, multiple endings. There's some story stuff too that's like added onto it. Like there's like this big dude and like I saw in a screenshot that he was like trying to take John or something, which obviously is in the movie. There's a mission of Sarah where she's like, I don't know where she is, but like she's fighting these different people that's not in the movie. But then there's straight up stuff from the movie, like Arnold in the bar and he's naked and he's fighting the bikers and stuff like that. There's the tunnel chase, which looks incredible. The end of the movie where Sarah shooting the T-1000 to go into the molten steel. The animation on it looks so good. Like holy fuck, I can't wait for this game.
It does look very neat. Also, Hasbro literally did just have the one reveal. It was X-Force Archangel, which looks cool.
Yeah,
But they did have Maximum Spider-Man on like display where like I saw a bunch of different like photographers. I hate to use the word influencer, but like those type accounts. Everybody was just like posing that thing super easily. And the Fwoosh guy, you know how like the lower forearms pop off so you can do the like the shit where it's like the bare arm with like the web swingers or web shooters. He popped the arm off and freaked out like he broke, which is great. That thing looks like it moves or it articulates like super easily like a Jada figure. It's also got more points of articulation than a Jada figure, I think. And I've seen people saying like it's still not worth $50. The we're gonna be relitigating this until the end of time, but like it's sold out on all but one website at the $50 price point. I am disappointed we didn't see Hulk. I would have
yeah.
liked to have seen Hulk this weekend, but you know what can you do? They did mention that Dan Yun mentioned there would be reveals Tuesday, which I think is the day Daredevil Born Again launches. So
Okay,
I will not be able to see that show until I get paid Thursday.
I feel like I should
Unfortunately,
rewatch the original Daredevil show.
it's great.
I only saw season
Season two is
one.
a bit of a mess, but like season one's the best season. Season two is a little bit of a disjointed mess because they split things off with like Punisher and Elektra, and the Punisher stuff is awesome. It becomes the Punisher show basically, and like every time he's on screen, that shit rules. And then season three's good, but like it's trying to do Born Again, and I think Guardian Devil's the other story that they borrowed heavily from, and like it's good.
Hmm.
The fucking fight at the end with Daredevil and Fisk is fucking wonderful. Fake Bullseye, because they don't call him Bullseye. I'm just gonna call him Fake Bullseye. Fake Bullseye is awesome. He's like a weirdo. And I saw the clip of him and Daredevil fighting from the new show, and he looks like somebody cosplaying as Snake Eyes doing a goddamn burglary. Why can't he look like fucking Bullseye?
Well, I saw a guy that I guess is supposed to be Jigsaw from the Daredevil show, the previous one, and like he was just a guy with like a goatee and like a little bit of scarring on his face, and like I was like, that's it, because I haven't read. Oh no, it would have been the Punisher show. Sorry, right? I haven't read the comics or anything, but I watched Punisher Warzone, and I remember Jigsaw on that, and like he was really fucked up. So like, why can't they just do that? You know what I mean? Like, why doesn't he look like his comic counterpart? I guess it's the same thing with the what was it, the Thinker in Captain America, Brave New World, where he doesn't look anything like the comics, but
Oh, the
he's like,
leader. Yeah, they hate making anybody look like their comic counterpart. They want their
why?
versions of these fucking. I don't fucking know.
I don't get
This
it.
shit goes back to like the X-Men movie. Like, oh, we got to do the Matrix like black leather shit. We can't have these motherfuckers in blue and yellow.
But
God forbid.
they've like really gone with the comic designs of some characters, and then it's like other ones they refuse to do so, and it's just like I don't. I think with that guy, whatever his name was in Captain America, they showed off like a uh pop Funko, whatever the hell they're called, and he had the green skin and like a beard and stuff. So it looked like at one point he was gonna look like he did in the comics, and then they did reshoots. They did like a lot of reshoots on that movie, and I guess he just completely changed his design for whatever reason. I don't
I
know.
don't get why the leader can't just have the giant fucking brain.
The leader, okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I don't understand. Do they think you look like too much like the guy from Green Lantern?
I
Heck,
just
was it?
think it's they don't like doing the comic designs for a lot of characters,
I don't
honestly. Because
understand.
we've all heard the shit that Bo DeMaio alleges about like being told fucking well, we don't want to adapt comics that were done by old white men. Like Kevin Feige apparently has a rule like you don't discuss comics at the writers meetings for these fucking movies, which is crazy because Tom Brevoort came out recently and said that the comics are basically being done specifically so they have shit to adapt. What the fuck? And like, yeah, it's cool. We're getting more Premiere Collection books. I think I talked about it last time. Maybe I didn't. I don't fucking remember. And like, cool, I get to retire my Civil War trade and my they did Hawkeye by fucking Matt Fraction after I just bought the fucking full run in a trade. Like that's great. But like I don't get it. Like the X-Men books that they're doing now are like fucking I haven't even read like half of the Uncanny run, which I subscribed to last year when I was really feeling it with the X-Men. And it just feels like goddamn, why can't we have nice things? We have Jonathan Hickman doing Ultimate Spider-Man. That shit's incredible. Apparently Dennis Camp's Ultimates are incredible. But how long until Marvel figures out these books are actually fucking good? It just kiboshes them. I mean, they've already canceled a bunch of X books for reasons I don't fucking know.
Mm.
And like having read, like the first 6 issues or so of the new Ultimate Spider-Man, and that's really good, and the first 3 issues of Absolute Batman, and that's really good. Those are like the two highest selling comics from last year. And you'd think like both publishing houses would take a fucking look at what works there and go, God damn, we need more of it. But no.
I
No,
see
we're gonna
there's a in-universe Peacemaker comic, um, and they went to James Gunn for reference. So I'm kind of interested in checking that out.
I'm skeptical of anything that attempts synergy with the movies at this point.
Yeah, understandable, but like I don't know. I like that show a lot. So anything Peacemaker, I'm down for. Um,
Yeah. I'm apprehensive about all of this stuff now. Like I'd rather the comics just be the comics and the video games just be the video games because attempting synergy just sounds like death.
I think it's one thing if you're doing TV and film, obviously, but then when you include games, I think especially games, when the way that industry is, like you're asking for a lot because also they take years to develop, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's ideas that you can do as long as they don't have to work within the present of your television and movie universe. Like the example that I brought up before is like, if you had like a Hal Jordan game that took place in the past, when he was in his prime because he's older in the show, and then I think that makes sense. It's you're able to tell a story in universe, but that took place at a different time period. So you're not anything that you do isn't going to affect like what you're doing in the movies that takes place during present day. I think that could be a good idea. Um, but like if you want it all to match and take place at the same time, then that's where it's going to cause issues. But I mean, we'll see if it even happens. Like I said, with the games industry, it's so shitty that James Gunn just might be like, "Oh, fuck this. Like I don't like this isn't going to work out." But we'll see what happens.
I did find it amusing NetherRealm was mentioned as one of the studios they went to discuss like future projects. Because I
Mm.
was like, anything to get Ed Boon away from Mortal Kombat, bro. Let him go fuck up some comic book shit and give Mortal Kombat to people that don't have fucking brain rot, please.
I don't think they're gonna let NetherRealm do anything but fighting games anyway. So like, if you're gonna do an in-universe game, like, what are you gonna do? You know?
Oh god, do live action Injustice. That would be fucking hilarious. Do it.
Oh no, I really don't see them doing that.
I just want it because there's like a 99% chance it would be really stupid. So like, do it, James Gunn, you coward.
Well, I mean, they might do some like evil Superman stuff eventually, but I don't think it would go that far. I mean, did you ever read what the plan was for Zack Snyder's Superman if they continued that?
No, I don't care about Zack Snyder.
Oh, well, I'll tell you this then, because it was quite funny. And there was talk that this was going to have changed, but so if you remember, he died and then he came back. So the plan was for him to, after coming back after dying, was he was going to be taken over by Darkseid, and like they were going to kill like half the world, and then there's that scene in Justice League was Superman is like flying around and zapping people or whatever. So the big plan was for him to, die and then save the world and then come back and be evil again. It's just like the fuck. And Lois was gonna have Batman's baby, and like, God, I can't even remember what the rest of the shit was. It was like Flash and time travel bullshit. It was bullshit. But I just thought it was so funny that like you bring Superman back from the dead, and like the first thing you do with him is turn him evil. It's like, why can't you let Superman be Superman? But that world's dead now, so we don't need to talk about it anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
DC is
don't.
very strange in that historically their quality control of like licensed stuff has not been great.
Yeah. You see,
So
they've
the
got
fact that that didn't make it through is kind of funny to me because it just feels like something they would have pushed through just to make some money.
yeah, they announced a bunch of new animated shows coming up. There's a Green Lantern show. There's like a kids superhero friends type show.
Yeah, they're all kid oriented, is what I read.
Well, I think there's My Adventures with Green Lantern, which is like a spin-off of My Adventures with Superman. And there was something else that I can't remember now that was announced. Shit, my brain. Oh well.
Oh, also, we gotta talk about Elimination Chamber. I did not watch the show.
I watched
I
it.
had I had better things to do, like playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2.
Well, apparently I
Um,
did not.
so the big takeaway from the show is that they finally did it, which I was kind of expecting on the retirement run. They were going to do it. Like, here you go. You finally get the John Cena heel run. Um, a lot of people saw this coming, either at this show or at Mania, but a lot of people saw that John Cena was going to turn on Cody.
Yeah,
Um,
I personally didn't think about it. Now that I think about like how over the top he was acting like at Rumble and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe this is why he was doing that. I didn't think about it until at the end when they were all in the ring together, because anytime a wrestler standing in the background behind another wrestler, I'm always suspicious. Like, this person's gonna attack this person. And then when Cody told Rock to go fuck himself, which was honestly the most surprising thing to me, that was uncensored, live. I was like, and they actually uploaded uncensored on WWE's YouTube channel as well. Um, and then I was like, well, if he's not accepting the offer, then Cena's probably going to turn heel. And then there was Cena was jumping up and down when Cody said that, and they were in the ring for a few minutes, like just standing around, and I was like, yeah, he's going to turn on him. And then The Rock gave him the signal, and he did it, and I was like, yeah, that's.
it was like the
I was.
stupidest looking throat slice I've ever seen.
I don't.
So it was like
Yeah, I
on
don't
his
know what he was
fucking
doing.
chin. Like, well, remember when Triple H walked out and like did it into the camera and he dragged his thumb across his chin? Like, oh yeah, you look like such a tough guy. You slit somebody's chin, you dumb fuck.
It looked like more like
Sorry.
he went all the way up his cheek, like he was having trouble shaving or something. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big deal. Cena's first time for being a heel since like what, 03, 04, something like that.
Oh
Um,
03. Also, as a side note, the greatest thing in wrestling right now, the WWE Vault, they have
yes.
uploaded WrestleFest 91, which is one of the finer Coliseum videos of that era. You get
Oh,
the
nice.
match that should have been the SummerSlam 90 main event with Ultimate Warrior and Earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to tell you, if you heard me say that and you're like, oh, it's Ultimate Warrior and Earthquake, yeah, eat shit. That match rules. I think this might be one of the tapes that has like Bulldog versus Haku as well. You get the Road Warriors against the Hart Foundation, which, shock of all shocks, the Roadies are able to get a good match out of the Hearts. Great tape.
Yes. But back on topic. Um,
Sorry.
So that's okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's like I said, it's a big deal. And I did like that it was a proper heel turn. It wasn't another situation where Cena's like forced to do heelish actions like the fucking Nexus or something like that. Like he beat the shit out of him, then he put his foot on his head at the end, and I was like, yeah, okay, so it's proper heel turn. Um, he's got to do something with his hair though. Like, come on, dude.
Shave his head bald. Come on.
He looks like Joe Pesci when his head was caught on fire in Home Alone, and he still had like the bottom of his head, but his head was totally bald. That's what he looks like. It's like you're a millionaire. Why can't you like do something with your hair or just shave it off? Like you got to do one of the two. Like as someone that grows, if I was to grow out my hair, it'd look like I'd have like a cul-de-sac on the back of my on top of my head, or like if you painted it green and you took a picture from far away, it would look like a crop circle, and you could get conspiracy theorists and a rut over it. Like I know what it's like to be a balding male. Like just get rid of it, dude. And he tries to like pat his hair back, but it's like impossible to cover because it's so big. Just just shave it or do something. It looks ridiculous.
I saw someone on the major pod group like, is this a more shocking heel turn than Hogan's? Well,
No.
given that I was alive for that, and like I was in a living room with like 9 other people when that happened, and everybody thought everybody had like ideas of who it was going to be. I was like 5 almost. It was like 2 weeks before I turned 5. I know that for a fact because it was 2 weeks before International Incident, and I turned 5 that day. Um, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, like there were people in my living room that thought it was going to be like British Bulldog. People thought it was going to be Brett because he hadn't been on TV in a while. People thought it was going to be Owen. Like there were a ton of people that thought, like, ton of like people that we thought it could be, none of which were Hulk Hogan. And when Hogan came out, nobody in the room thought like, oh, he's here to fucking drop the shit on Macho Man. So like, no, when there are people in that Facebook group that are calling it like 3 days out from the pay-per-view, it's not a shocking heel turn. It's the only thing they could have done with Cena on this retirement tour that makes fucking sense. The problem is I saw the clip of him from the fucking press conference where he gets back into full gimmick and fucking walks in and does a mic drop. Like, what the fuck? Can you not be cool at all? Like, is it just like not in you to be like fucking cool?
There was no reason for him to show up there at all. I mean, he shouldn't have been on the press conference. He should have just that should have been it.
You know what he should have done if he had to show up? Fucking walk in a suit, sit
Yes.
down, take one question, shit on the fucking reporter, and then leave. And I did air quotes when I said reporter. Like you walk in, you act like an asshole, or you know what? Better yet, walk in and say, if you want to know why I did this, tune into Raw on Netflix. There you go.
Yeah.
This shit is not fucking hard.
Apparently, he's not going to be on Raw because I guess The Rock said he was flying back to like Africa or something that night.
Well, he's also only got like 30 something dates. You can't really burn through those. But you know how I would end John Cena's retirement tour if he's going to be heel for it?
Mm-hmm.
Turn Jacob Fatu babyface. Fatu squashes him to win the belt.
That'd be cool. Or like, what about Braun Breaker?
That was my other option.
Yeah.
One of those two. Because if we're being honest, look at that roster and tell me who the fuck the top 2 guys should be going forward. It's those 2 and nobody else.
Yeah, like there's nobody else off the top of my head that I could even think of.
Like Braun's got the fucking juice his uncle had, and probably in more ways than one. But like, he's always over. He has good matches. He is that is a fucking main event wrestler, and it's so funny because a few years ago we were all like, God, this guy sucks when he was in NXT. Put him on the main roster, you treat him like a badass. Guess what? He gets over. Jacob Fatu was over from fucking like frame 1 when he showed up. You want like a new top Samoan? Well, he can't be like Roman. The next guy can't be like the previous guy. Jacob Fatu's about as different as you can get if you want like to keep the Samoan family at the top of the card.
Yeah.
Like, there's your fucking Rock and Austin. If you and I hate because I said it. Like, I hate that everybody now has to have their version of something from a previous era. But if you want to, if you want to parallel it that way, there's your two guys. And it's not going to be that hard to get them into position.
No. I like Braun Breaker when he first showed up. I mean, I didn't like the name change because I thought Rex Steiner was like a perfectly suitable name. But I mean,
Yeah, and it's also a play on his actual fucking last name.
Yeah, and when he showed up, he was immediately doing like Steiner spots. So I was like, yeah, I'm down with this guy. Also, like Scott's son has signed a WWE like prospect deal or whatever.
Oh, an NIL deal. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, who did I say he looked like? He looked like somebody. Can't remember now.
Yeah, me either.
Somebody he reminded me of. He looked exactly like him in that picture. But
Get that boy on the shit. Also, he's not going to be allowed to be called Brock, so that's his actual name, but you can't call him that.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to call him Breaker as well? That seems kind of silly, but I hope he's good. I mean, you could have a Steiner Cousins tag team. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wish some of these guys could be thrown AEW's way, but they don't know what the fuck to do with. Oh, we didn't talk about the Jazzers AEW stuff. Let me get on my fucking soapbox about that real quick before we talk about the 2K25 stuff. So they showed Unrivaled 17 at Toy Fair, and out of that set, a lot of people were really looking forward to Swerve Strickland because one, it's the first figure of him since the Swerve in Our Glory figure that was grossly outdated by the time it came out. And also, they had showed, I believe, the belt with him and the Jimmy Rave robe. I'll give you two guesses what are not pictured with that fucking final sample that they showed at Toy Fair. I'll help you out here. It's the Jimmy Rave robe and the world title. The belt is whatever. They've released it a million times. If you collect AEW figures, I'm sure you have one. But the robe being cut really bothered me. And it bothered me because obviously I'm a big fan of Ring of Honor, and Jimmy Rave was one of my favorite guys in ROH. And so seeing that back on TV really, it meant a lot to me because like that piece of ROH got to live on. Also with Nana being on TV. To cut that, especially right now, it's in an angle on television. That doesn't sit right with me. And it's also like you're cutting something that even through AEW TV, people that have no idea who Jimmy Rave is, they have an attachment to the fucking Jimmy Rave rope. Nobody calls it the Swerve rope. Nobody calls it the Embassy rope. Everybody calls it the Jimmy Rave rope, and you cut it. So like you're basically saying like, oh yeah, we know this means a lot to people, but fuck you, you're not getting it. But Christian can have his soft goods like left perfectly fucking intact. Ricky Starks, who has a figure in this set, can have a soft goods fucking entrance jacket, even though by the time it comes out, it'll have been over a year since he's been on AEW TV. But Swerve, who a year ago was the world champion, a little under a year ago, and is like ask people their top three favorite acts in AEW over the last 18 months, everybody is going to say Swerve in that top three. And if they don't, they're not somebody I would trust. And so you fucking completely gut the figure of one of the top guys. And then on top of that, everybody points out they made him like way lighter than the previous figure of him because somebody posted like an on-card picture of that one next to this one. It looks like a completely different guy. Like, do you remember when Mattel fucked up the skin tone on Ron Simmons and like people didn't let them live it down for a long time?
Yeah.
Jazzwares did it. How do you fuck up a figure of a top guy that badly, but Christian fucking Cage makes it through completely as intended? Willow Nightingale's figures got fucked up too. The head sculpts in render form actually looked like her. The final versions of her don't look anything like her.
Yeah,
the Chase figure looks better, but in the Chase figure, honestly, is the best figure they showed yesterday, but it's still like a massively disappointing figure. What the fuck happened to this line?
They just don't care. That's it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, also, like, remember when the Osprey figure got announced at Comic-Con and we were both kind of like, oh, that's going to be an interesting looking figure. It'll probably be all right. Do you have any faith in them to deliver on a $39 Will Osprey figure at this point?
No.
Me either. And you know the stupidest part? Magic did their homework for them already. Because there's the two Osprey heads from the Unmatched figure, and there's the Kenny Omega body from the Supreme. That is the easiest figure in the world to make. They will fuck it up. And my friend, shout outs to Rick, who is also from Ohio. he saw those and he went, "Yeah, you can really tell these are the first figures that Magic had no fucking influence over." I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, they look like shit.
Yeah, the quality control is out the window, and like I said, I just don't think they care. It just seems like, whatever, we'll put these out. Sloppy work.
I heard that FTR versus O'Reilly and Roderick Strong last night was very good, which fucking color me shocked. I gotta
Yeah, I
watch
heard
it
that as well.
later.
Yeah.
I I'm trying to figure out if I can get the money ahead to just do a year of Max where I get the 4K streaming because I want to see what AEW looks like in 4K because the 1080p stream looks fucking immaculate on both of my TVs. If they are streaming in 4K, I'd imagine it's going to look better than Raw on Netflix, which is saying a lot because that looked really good too.
Hmm.
Um, but that figure line is so fucking disappointing. And like, I think when it all shakes out, the Moxley Supreme will be the last figure Magic worked on that hits retail. And oh, by the way, note of the Road Warriors, somebody said it to me. If these were Jazz Warriors figures, they would have leaked on eBay by now.
Oh, eBay leaks. Oof.
Oh, right, Junk Shop Dog. Remember all the speculation that they had Great Muta and Keiji Muto coming? They did.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel out there. I was just searching for Grey Muta figures. You know, I sometimes like to see if there's any customs or anything that's just going for cheap from the character products, and maybe like just anything really. So I came across them and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, did I miss the announcement? Like, what is going on here? And I almost instantly bought them, right? Because they were like around $50 Canadian each and like free shipping. And I was like, that's kind of nuts. Like, I won't get that price for anywhere else. So I was like, I feel like I need to get these now. And I contacted Junk Shop Dog directly, and I was like, "Is this legit?" And they were like, "Yeah, stolen from the factory." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I looked at the rest of that eBay account, and they have like a bunch of Mattel and Jazzwares like prototypes and all this different stuff. And yeah, that sucks. Don't buy from that account. I mean, if you want to buy from like Mattel or whatever, like I don't have a problem with that because they're like a major company, so I don't give a shit. But like Junk Shop Dog, which is a smaller company that sells really good quality products that we've both ordered from them before, and they've been really cool. So
Half
I
of the
don't,
figures in my living room that I have on my wall are fucking from them.
yeah. So I don't as much as like as why those figures are like cheaper than I would normally pay. Like I don't feel comfortable ripping them off. You know, they're a really good
No,
company, seem like good people, and yeah. So that sucked. Especially seeing them and being like, "Oh shit, they're there," you know. But it is what it
the
is.
Muta is the red gear. Also, it
Yeah,
should be noted, like the default Muta look in a lot of people's heads, the all red.
and the Muto is the orange chunks, which is what I wanted from character products that they never made. Um, yeah, I that was sad. That was really sad because I was like, I must have missed the announcement. I was like, add to cart, and then I thought I better contact them because I looked at the website and I was like, there's nothing here. And then they told me, and I was like, oh fuck, that sucks.
And then we had a bunch of WWE 2K DLC teases, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't care about like any of the stuff being teased here.
Well,
Like, okay, Motor City Machine Guns, that's cool. There's a bandana which somebody pointed out to me. There's a tag team in NXT called OTM.
mm,
That might be for them. There's an ECW logo, which okay, whoever they make from ECW is not going to play the way that they should. So who gives a shit?
there's
And like Victoria's been teased, Bull Nakano. There's just straight up a picture of her in the fucking
yeah,
water.
that was the most obvious one because they actually included a picture of her. There's also been teasers of like Julia, Stephanie Vaquer,
Penta,
uh, Panda. Yeah, there was a guy in the crowd that had a Joe Henry t-shirt. So Jordan Grace's logo was on the ring. Trying to think who else. Possibly Jake Paul or KSI because there's a Prime bottle. Yip dee ding doo da. Um, I can't even remember. Was that all of them? Maybe.
It's
Maybe.
again, it's a lot of shit that I don't personally care about.
It's
I'm
also like
not going to
really
pretend
dumb.
like nobody else does.
Like fucking announce the names. Don't release these stupid AI pictures and like, oh look at this, we're teasing this. Just announce them. What the hell's the point in this? The game comes
I
out
mean,
in a few days.
at least with the Suplex City reveals for 2K17, it was like a fucking picture that it was like within 5 seconds you fucking know who all the DLC characters are.
Right. Nobody should be
Like
guessing a goddamn bandana. Like, you know, just announce the goddamn names. Holy shit. I saw people
it's very
guessing.
very disappointing.
I saw because of the East, because it's in the screenshot of the ECW logo. People are guessing like, oh, here's a picture of Tommy Dreamer wearing that bandana. Here's Chavo Guerrero. I'm like, fuck off. There's also like a blue Pac-Man in that same image, and I don't know what the hell that's about. Oh,
Somebody took ecstasy.
yeah, maybe Spike Dudley, little Spike Dudley.
I mean, you got to be on some fucking drugs to enjoy these games, man. Like beyond like just novelty value after like 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, I do enjoy like downloading mods and playing some
That's
matches with
different
them.
than thinking these are like the best wrestling games ever.
Oh no, I definitely don't think they're the best wrestling games ever at all. Uh, I'm still on the fence of whether I should buy it or not. I mean, my heart says no because like there's really not that much different, but like also just of the idea of like having something to play new and doing the My Rise, even though I don't like it, just having some new content to play. I don't know. I'm this whole DLC thing's got me in a I don't know kerfuffle because I hate the way that they're teasing this bullshit and not just announcing it. It's so stupid.
I'm probably sitting this game out unless something changes between now and then.
I don't blame you. I mean, like I said, I'm on the fence, but like I don't know. I could go either way, right? It's like also all the DLC names that I'd want to play as anyway. Like there's really good mods of them from last year. So does it really matter? Not really.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I know that like this I know that a lot of people like to posture and say like I'm not going to buy this because supporting WWE, and I understand that. That's part of it for me. But the rest of it is just like, man, I I don't give a fuck. This does not look different enough from 2K24, and also we do not know, how do I put this, like we don't know what it's going to be like in terms of optimization on PS4 or Steam Deck for that matter.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've talked about too is like we know that the island isn't in the previous gen version, but what if there's something else, that they haven't said yet? I don't know what it would be
I
at this
don't
point.
think they would like stealth drop something at this point if I'm being honest.
Well, I feel like something in the creation mode or like the hairstyles that are locked in the current gen, like previous gen and PC, are they going to be available or they're just not going to be in it at all? Like there's stuff like that I wonder about, but I don't know. I'm again, it's a state of the industry, right? And all this island bullshit and microtransactions and all this shit. It's sad and it sucks.
I'm at the point where I feel like I'm just going to spend a lot of this year playing old games,
Oh, I totally get that. Yeah, I'll probably
especially like, oh god.
I'll probably play like Sleeping Dogs like 12 times.
Yeah, like I want to play the new Shinobi game when it comes out cuz that looks fucking hype. But
Right.
like if God of War gets remastered, if it's not a day and date release on Steam Deck with some form of optimization, guess what? I have God of War 1 and 2 on my Steam Deck and I have God of War 3 on my PS4.
Mhm.
if it's God of War, like if they do God of War 1, but it plays like God of War 2018, no fucking thanks. At that point, you're just pissing on the game. And listen, I don't care if you take all the titties out of the games, like whatever. The sex mini games were funny to me when I was a teenager. But like, and also if you play it with like the first game with the outfit that like quadruples your magic, or not your magic orbs, your experience orbs, that first mini game will like boost one of your weapons quite a bit. But like, you can take that stuff out. If you change the gameplay of those games, fuck you. I don't want those games to feel slow and like bootleg Dark Souls like the modern God of War games do. Those games need to be fast.
Right.
And I don't know. And again, if it's not optimized for the deck, I'm not paying $500 for a slim PS5 just to have a 4K Blu-ray player again and maybe play a fucking remastered God of War. Well, that's kind of where I'm at with this stuff. If you want me to buy your new games, you're gonna have to meet me in the middle. Either optimize it for the deck or fucking put out a handheld. Like, I don't care about gaming on a TV anymore. My like literally the entirety of my gaming is on the Steam Deck or the Switch, sitting in a chair with a YouTube video on as background noise. Fuck a console experience now. Give me something to play while I'm listening to like episodes of Family Guy.
I still use my TV, but I mean, with the Steam Deck, I can connect it to the TV anyway. So, that's how I do most of my
I've
stuff.
never done it, and I bought the fucking deck, like
Oh,
the
really?
dock for the deck. Yeah, I've just to me the whole idea is it's a fucking PS4 Pro that I don't have to have hooked up to the TV, so I can have whatever I want on in the background. Like if I'm playing Ultimate Alliance, I can just throw on like the Image Comics documentary or like the Claremont X-Men documentary and have that on, or I
Yeah.
can throw on like the Major Pod, or like I can load up Hulu and throw on Family Guy or Dark Side of the Ring and like just chill out. And that's like where I'm at. Like I have Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 now. I don't have to deal with emulation. I have those games, and I have like all the games that I have on emulator. Like I started a SmackDown Here Comes the Pain playthrough with Steve Austin because I was like, fuck it, I want to play Here Comes the Pain again. And
Yeah.
like I've been tinkering with the idea of fucking finally beating Def Jam Vendetta on the Steam Deck after not playing it really for like a year, close to it. There's nothing coming out that I think is really interesting until, maybe April 2nd with the Switch 2 Direct, things will change.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my mentality will soften a little bit in that way, but I don't think it will. I mean, who's to say who's to say they won't show a bunch of stuff that's going to come out early in the Switch 2's life cycle that I'm going to be like, oh, I need to play that. Who's to say they won't do it? But like, new Mario Kart looks cool, but it's not going to sell me a Switch 2 by itself. And there's the rumors like, Xbox has a handheld, but it's potentially years away. Well, you guys saw what the Switch did. You should have had that in development. Sony apparently was prototyping a handheld that would natively play PS4 and 5 games, like, but that's also years away. So these are going to come out right before the next console generation in theory. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll buy a handheld Xbox because Game Pass means in theory I could play Gears of War again. But Gears of War, the fucking remastered version, is also rumored for PS4, 5, and fucking Switch 2.
Yep.
So what reason do I have to give a shit anymore? Like, what reason would I actually, if that happens, what reason do I have to buy an Xbox handheld?
None at all.
And like, if God forbid, God of War 1 can run reasonably well, like remastered on the deck, what incentive do I have to buy PS5? Just like put your fucking games out and let me play them. The only company I'm making the concession for is Nintendo.
Yeah, I feel the same. I haven't been into Nintendo products for a long while. I did play Super Mario Odyssey. Is that like the latest 2D one?
That's Wonder.
Wonder. Okay, yeah. So I did play a little bit of that through alternative means, and I was like, you know what, this is really cool. This is the stuff that I enjoy. And then I started taking a look at like the Switch library and some of the other stuff they've At least also a friend of mine got a Switch recently. I think she's already given up with it because she doesn't play games that much. But she was talking about the stuff she was playing on it, and I was like, it has been a while since I've played a Nintendo product. I'm not going to get that experience anywhere else. So Switch 2, yeah, I'll probably look into that, and I can see myself getting that. But when it comes to the consoles, like as we've talked about, there's exclusives are becoming less and less. And I have a PC. PC's age too fast, but it still works pretty good. If I need to upgrade it, I probably could. I know two people that live down the street that upgraded their own computer, so that could probably do something for me if I can't do it myself, which I'm scared to do. So there's options there where I don't need to buy a new console, and I don't want to at all. Like, I'm so sick of these new console releases when I'm staring at my PS5 and Xbox and just be like, what do I have you for? I don't know. So yeah, I just give up completely on console games. I mean, it might be a case of where I'm easily influenced too. Like when you're like, "Hey, look at the Spider-Man," I'm like, "Okay, I'll pre-order that." And no, seriously, I did. I actually canceled it because I was like, I don't need it that much. But like the Road Warriors too, I wasn't going to get those, but you're like, I got both of them. I was like, oh shit, I need to get the Road Warriors.
I'm a
Um,
bad influence. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just easily influenced. Like my friend, he's a console gamer, and he may be like, "Oh, you're getting the new PlayStation, new Xbox? Like, I've got mine on pre-order. I'm going to get it." Blah blah blah. And I may be like, "Oh shit," but I really don't think I will because I'm so fed up with consoles, and this generation has just like killed it for me. It's like there hasn't been that one killer game where I felt like, "Oh, this is why I bought this." It's just like, everything's available everywhere. So why would I? I have a PC that can play everything I want. So, and the Steam Deck as well. If I want to play classic games, I can play them on the Steam Deck. So, yeah, I hate the video game. I guess I just hate the video game industry as a whole these days.
Yeah,
And
it sucks ass.
yeah, it's like that's why I'm so for independent products these days. Products from like smaller studios, because I think that's where like the true innovation comes from, and this like influence too. Like I've talked about Acts of Blood a lot, and like the influence from like Sleeping Dogs and stuff like that, which is my favorite game of all time. And UPW with the Yaki influence and the names and stuff that's going on with that. Um, and when I look at like major products, you've got like WWE, which is the same every year, and there's nothing out there that's going to be like Sleeping Dogs. So like, what do I? There's just nothing for me on like a major scale. Um, Actually, when
Has there
regards to
been a UPW update recently? Oh, I'm sorry. Going about WWE.
oh no, let's see about UPW first. I was trying to think actually. The animation video came out where they released all the animations, and I don't think there's been anything other than Rips, who is like one of the people behind Pro Wrestling Mods, has joined the team for making. He's like a belt maker, and he does some really good mods on 2K for belts. So his stuff's gonna look really good. He was the person that they had signed a while back, but they hadn't announced the name yet. But he talked about he teased some tag teams because he was like the Modem City Machine Guns. He's like, I know another team that would match up really well with them in UPW, and I was like, huh, I wonder who that is. So we'll have to wait. Maybe the SAT or somebody. I don't know. We'll have to wait for that. But in regards to WWE, yeah, I was thinking like the other day. Um, I was thinking about how even on current gen they can't have more than 100 creations and 1,000 images. And I thought like maybe the reason for that is still at the core. It's Yuke's code, and they just can't figure it out. Like I don't know for a fact. I don't know anything about game design or game development or game code. Maybe that's just the case I was thinking of. So it's like, and I was thinking like, when are they actually going to take the plunge and like be like, we need to create a new engine, or we need to use a new engine for these games? Like
Never.
that's another thing I was thinking too. Is like, is it ever going to happen? Like, are they going to get to a point where they can't really do anything at all with this engine now? So they're forced to do something. Like, is there anything maybe going on in the background? It's just something to think about because, like, when you think about it, like the code that they're using at its core is like several years old. So I don't know. It's just like is it going to get to the point where they can't use it anymore? I guess. But
Maybe.
yeah. I just think because of the limit of creations, it's like you can't do that forever. You can't just have 100 creations and 1,000 images. Like it doesn't make any sense anymore, right? Like it should be the limitations of the console. Like 1,000 images just does not make any sense. So,
You're
and I
right,
think,
it doesn't, but it's them. They're gonna write it till it
yeah,
breaks
and
again.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, just like, when are they going to do something? As you said, maybe never. It was always going to be this, but yeah, video games, they're shit.
I gotta tell you, I have a real problem. I'm on Comic Hub right now, which is like the thing my local comic store has, where like you can order like comics and such.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have a little bit of a problem. A lot of stuff in here that I'm going to be making a lot of trips to that comic shop over the next few months.
Yeah, there's figures you've got coming. You've got that Spider-Man. You've got the Road Warriors. And you got comics coming, and yeah,
Yeah, I regret nothing.
yeah.
My
I'm
friend and I had
getting.
a long conversation the other day about like, do we really want to go to All In actually, given the state of this fucking company?
I would still go. That would be a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I missed out on the Rumble because I got sick. Like that's the thing. But we keep doing the playing chicken with buying the plane ticket because it was going to be during Revolution, and we're both like, "Fuck, we're not going to have the money to do it during Revolution." It's like, well, Dynasty in early April. No, Mania, and I'm like, let's see how far we can push this. Like, can we wait till like mid May to book the fucking flight? Like the hotel, probably we should get on pretty soon, but like what about the flight?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Do you think that
I don't know.
they'll bring the Von Erichs back to wrestle the Hurt Syndicate for the tag titles in Dallas?
I think the Hurt Syndicate are losing to the Outrunners on Sunday.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, you gonna have the Outrunners challenge for the belt and lose? I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Honestly, I just think like
But
the
imagine how big of a fucking reaction it would be if they won.
that's true, but I just keep thinking like the Von Erichs against heels and Dallas would be
Well, the
really
Von
cool.
Erichs are under deals, so like they would. You'd have to think would absolutely be factored in.
I mean, you can have like MVP trying to interfere and Kevin puts him in the claw and shit, you know?
Yeah, there's things you can do there. I feel so detached from the product with like everything that they're doing.
I get you. I guess the most important question is, will they use Machine Head again because it's in Dallas?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, I think they have to. I love that song. What I'm happy about is the bringing Momo Watanabe in next week to take on Mercedes. That should be good.
Oh, is that next week?
Yeah, it's in that
The pay-per-view. Yeah.
Revolution. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. My brain completely farted. I thought that got announced for TV.
it's funny though because they're presenting her as a babyface and like in Stardom she's a complete heel. I mean, she's part of a group called
Well,
Hate, so
well, it's AEW. Mercedes is the heel.
yeah. Actually, we should talk about the best feud in wrestling right now, which is Saya Kamatani against Tam Nakano. Have you heard anything about this feud?
No, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to
Oh,
Joshi.
you idiot. So, okay, I have to start from Kamatani's heel turn. So she was in the unit Queen's Quest, which was started by Io Shirai originally. And Tommy Hayashida was leaving for Marigold. Is it Hayashida? No, I'm not saying her last name right. Anyway, I always fuck up her last name. So she was leaving for Marigold. And her and Kamatani were like they were a tag team. They were stablemates in Queen's Quest. They were like best friends. And once Utami left, Queen's Quest had a match and they were forced to disband. But Kamatani would still come out like carrying the Queen's Quest flag. She like didn't want it to end, basically. And she ended up befriending Maika from Enexis V, who was the red belt champion at the time, the top belt in Stardom, and she was taking on oh god, my brain. I hate my brain. Who was the match against again? Let me see. Give me one sec. Natsuko Tora. So she was wrestling. Maika was wrestling her, and Kamatani turned on Maika and joined what would have been Oedo Tai at the time, which is like an old stable started by oh fuck, Act. What was it? Do you know the last name? Do you know who I'm talking about? The one that got all fucked up in that
Yasukawa.
match? Yes. So what they ended up doing was basically rebranding Oedo Tai as a stable called Hate. Harass, abuse, terrorize, eradicate, as it says in their theme song. And Kamatani like completely changed her style. She came out like wearing all black, and she points at like her eye or hand on her cheek, and she sticks like her tongue out and shit. And people were like she's like emo, and they weren't really down with it at first. And she was basically learning on the job to be like a heel because she'd never really been a heel, so she's working all these matches with this heel unit, and just like learning. And she ended up getting like super over, like really really popular. Like her T-shirt, she had a new T-shirt like selling out at the shows like instantly. So at the end of last year, she had a match against Tam Nakano for the red belt, and Kamatani won. And she's had this run, and like I said, she's been like super popular. And so she had a match with Suzu Suzuki at Korakuen Hall, and it was standing room only, which is like their best attendance at Korakuen in like forever. So she won that match, and then Tam Nakano came out, and they were going back and forth. And Tam Nakano is the leader of Cosmic Angels, and there's a member called Sayaka Kurara, and she was like inspired by Kamatani. She looked at her as like a mentor. So Kamatani wanted to like bring her over to the dark side, turn her heel. Um, so they had a tag match. Kamatani lost. Kurura stayed babyface and is still with Tom Nakano. But then the stipulation of the match was like, if Tom won, she'd get to like choose a matchup or whatever. So she chose a match for the Korakuen Hall show coming up late tonight or early Monday morning, right? And the stipulation she chose is lose or leave Stardom. So everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck's gonna happen here? Because you've got Kamatani, who's like this big star now, and you've got Tam Nakano, who's been like a big star in Stardom for years. And she's talked about retirement, but like not in a while. So it's like what's the outcome of this? And I guess as soon as the match was announced, like Korakuen again sold all the tickets, and now again it's like standing room only, and they're actually going to put the match for free live on YouTube. So it's a really big deal. They've been going back and forth a lot on social media. Nakano was actually on the front page of Tokyo Sports. She made like a voodoo doll of Kamatani, and Kamatani's thing is like sticking a tongue out and like licking a belt and like licking her opponents and shit. And she give it this the voodoo doll this long tongue that she keeps cutting, and like she looks crazy on the front page of Tokyo Sports. There was like the President Okada had like a public interview or something the other day, and Nakano was there, and Kamatani came out and like body slammed her on the stage and stuff. Yeah, it's been like super super interesting and fun, and nobody really knows the outcome of this match. Some people think that it's going to be like a double DQ or count out or whatever, because they've got a big Yokohama Arena show coming up just in a few weeks. So losing either of them doesn't seem like a good idea for that show. Um, but yeah, like nobody really knows what's going to happen, and that's kind of like the fun of Stardom. Since Okada took over, it's like you're not really sure. Like things go in different directions, and it always seems to be just interesting. Um, Kamatani was also on a TV show in like prime time on Fuji TV, and she was talking about like how frustrating it is when you see like female pro wrestlers on a show. It's always like Dump Matsumoto or Chigusa Nagayo or somebody from that era, and nobody from the current generation. And how much, and she was talking about like how much she loves wrestling and stuff, and she was crying, and it was totally like out of character. And it got a lot of attention. Like her post about that TV show on like the like I think some of them were like in the millions or whatever. So people were like really paying attention to this, and it was a show where like celebrities and stuff were like run around the track and they have to do so many miles or something and stuff like that. But yeah, she got a lot of attention from that show. So like, there's all eyes on Stardom right now. The matches have been really good. Dave Meltzer gave like the Cosmic Angels, Neo Genesis, 6-woman tag, 5 stars from Kurkan, which that's his opinion. It is what it is. I wouldn't have said it was a 5-star match, but it was a fun match. But they're doing some really, really good matches, and like I said, interesting storylines. I think there's only one champion, and it would be Waka in New Blood, who's over 30. Like I think everyone else is under 30 years old. You've got Starlight Kid, who's like in her early 20s, and she actually took on Rena, who's only 18. On the last big show, and it was a really good match. And it's like, Rena's 18 years old. Like, how is she this good? So it's like a really, really bright spot in wrestling right now. Even if you watch like the house shows, on the house shows, they're not like newsworthy most of the time, but like you still just get like solid matches. Like every single show that they put on is either really good or it's solid, right? There's like nothing that's bad. So yeah, I'm like fully into Stardom right now, and I would suggest like everyone get into it. If you can't sign up for Stardom World, maybe you can find alternate ways. They've got a show coming up in Vegas during Mania weekend. So that should be fun. I'd be thinking about New Orleans next year because I had a lot of fun at Mania New Orleans. So I was like, do I want to do that? And honestly, I don't even know if I want to attend WrestleMania because it's like I've been there, done that. It's also really expensive and it's 2 nights. But if I go to New Orleans and there's a Stardom show there, I would be really hyped for that, and I'd probably want to get like front row. So yeah, I'm thinking about New Orleans right now. We'll see what happens, but yeah, everybody watch Stardom because it's a fucking great product and it's super cool. So yeah, you should get on it too. What are you waiting for?
I don't like doing what people tell me to do.
Well, that's my problem. Somebody tells me, yeah, do this, and I'm like, okay. But no, it's a really good product. The matches are super entertaining. Some of the talent there is like incredible. May Sarah, who's a high speed champion, she's crazy, and like Azumi. Yeah, I love Stardom. I went on for a while there,
I
didn't I?
just I just don't feel like a super strong attachment to like any modern wrestling, if I could be perfectly honest. Like, I don't know. I can watch old wrestling, like that Omni show that dropped conveniently the day that those Road Warriors figures went up. I watched that whole show with my friends, and it was like the best 2 hours of wrestling in its new wrestling because that's unreleased footage. So it was like the best 2 hours of like new wrestling footage I'd seen in since they uploaded they did the live stream of the 1 hour of the January '87 Omni show back in October. Like
Mm-hmm.
Road Warriors versus King Kong Bundy and Stan Hansen. If I say that to you, you probably think you have an idea of how that match goes. It goes nothing like that. Because like you hear it and you imagine Rhodey's baby faces, Hansen and Bundy heels, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. The Road Warriors are like cheating shithead not baby faces heels. Bundy's like a baby face, like he's just like the big like baby face heavy, and then Stan Hansen's a fucking shit kicker, and it rules. Like the finish is the finish because it's the '80s and it's a house show, and you got to give them a reason to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what a fucking match! And like, if I told you Wahoo McDaniel and Nikolai Volkov had a hell of a match, with Wahoo, there's a certain expectation. You would have never expected it out of Nikolai. I've seen a lot of that dude from the Fed, from Mid South. I have never seen that dude move like that. He was going for it. Wahoo was fucking laying it in, and it's like, goddamn, wrestling used to be good. And on that show, there was a Les Thornton Tommy Rogers match. Fucking great match. The Pistol Pez Jesse Bar opener was really good. Like, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's like it's the best wrestling event you're going to see probably all year. Just 2 hours of really solid, really good. And then, oh, by the way, the main event's Ric Flair and fucking Brad Armstrong in Atlanta. Like, goddamn, what a match! And that's like the most enthusiastic you're ever going to hear me about wrestling I've watched lately. Like, I was pretty hyped about the Goto match, but like, I fear on Thursday he's losing that belt to Tanahashi. So, that'll be fun. But yeah, that Omni show is incredible. I don't get a lot out of, like, I want to watch FTR versus O'Reilly and Strong because, like, shock of all shocks, people thought that was good. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the pay-per-view next Sunday. Like, I'm sure Omega and Takeshita will be good because it's those two. And I'm sure Ospreay and Fletcher are going to go sicko mode in the cage. But it circles back to you have this fucking nice sounding undercard, and then there's that goddamn main event. And we've probably discussed this, but there's the theory that, like, Cope is going to win, and then Christian's going to cash in and beat him for the belt. And I will fucking sell my Dallas tickets like 2 seconds after that happens if that's the case.
That's what I'm expecting as well. I mean, I like it? Not necessarily, but from a story point, it makes sense.
I would rather Christian get fucking shit on. Like, why are we adding Edge and Christian to the title lineage in 2025? What does it fucking matter? Like, do we need Edge and Christian to feud over a fucking world title in 2025? Have we ever needed that? No.
Sorry, choking here.
Sorry.
No, I just coughed and I couldn't get my breath back. I agree with you. But honestly, I really love Christian. So, him winning the title in 2025, yeah, do we need it? No. But I'm also like, I don't mind it. But with him feuding with Edge over the title, I don't necessarily need to see that.
Like, at this point, I got more out of watching Austin and Undertaker from Fully Loaded 99 yesterday than I did, like, almost anything that I've seen out of, like, recent wrestling. Somehow that's, like, the one match those two had that didn't suck. It's crazy how that works out. Also, we didn't talk about this earlier with Zombie, but the 6-inch figures in Macho Man are allegedly going up before March 31st, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here looking at a calendar. It is currently March 2nd.
Yes, it is.
Do you think by the time we do the episode in 4 weeks on March 30th, provided I have the weekend? Oh my God, I will. Okay. Yeah, that's the calendar, right? So yeah. So when we do the episode on the 30th, do you think by that point we'll have recorded an episode where I fucking gush about how I paid whatever the amount was for the 6-inch figures?
I'm going to say yes.
You've got that much faith?
Oh, jeez.
How do you have more faith in Zombie Sailor than I do?
It's not. I'm just making a guess. Oh, God. I cannot speak. I'm sorry. Jeez.
All right.
Yeah, this is why I need to stop doing this. I can't speak. Yeah, I'm good. I don't know what happened. I just choked. It's not that I have faith. I'm just making a guess. In the way things, I just assume things are gonna go. I'm just gonna say yes, but I'm not like, I don't have any faith in that. It's just my guess of that. Yes, it'll happen.
I mean, my guess is no. I was gonna, before you started like dying, I was gonna have you put like a percentage chance on it just to see how close we were on that.
I mean, it could go both ways, but my feeling is that with the amount of delays he's had and announcements and shit, I feel like this one might be the one to actually pull through.
I mean, especially like in light of the ringside thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You can't take the foot off the gas now. It's time to be a big boy.
You have to deliver at some point, and I think even he's got to know, like, the people that ramble about him are always going to ramble, but there's a lot of like legitimate criticism right now with the delays and the announcements and stuff like that. So I think even he knows he's got to deliver at this point.
Yeah, like you can't. I mean, he has. He said like, "Oh, we're definitely going to have this pre-order up by this date." He's done it before,
Yeah.
but like right now, you can't. After Ringside did an in-stock drop, I mean, unless you're going to change the game plan to do one of your own,
Mm-hmm.
and also we don't know how many units Ringside got in stock. That's a very important thing to note. They sold out in 3 hours. We
Yeah.
don't know how many they actually ordered. We don't know what a sellout of these really looks like. But I think for the first series he should still do the pre-order just to gauge interest. And then you got to kind of start doing the in-stock drops or short pre-orders. Like
Yeah.
have them already in production and then fucking go from there. It's the only way those make sense. But I would love to say within the next like 2 weeks on one of these episodes, like you'll hear me fucking saying, I put the money down on these, but I just don't feel it.
Yeah, I get it, but I also think like you've got to produce at this point. You talked about the Ringside Collectibles line, and like the pressure is on to for him to sorry, for him to as you said, like put the pedal to the metal and jump on the gas. You've got to do something now because there's other stuff getting out there that people are putting their attention towards. How long is it going to be before Ringside announces the next figure?
And how
And you
soon is it before Ringside overlaps too?
exactly, you don't want to you don't want to fall behind. So I think it's time now that he's really got to step up and just put this stuff up there. Um, or you don't want to end up in a Power Town situation where people are like really shit talking you and stuff, right? So yeah,
He's already
I'm
been
gonna
there
say
in some regard, though, I will
yeah,
say.
but I'm gonna say yeah that we're gonna get it by the end of the month.
I'm hoping. So, like, with the competitive price point, now that we know what Ringside's looking at, what do you think a competitive price point looks like now? Because the way Ringside has those roadies priced, you could absolutely get those into Target if you were so inclined. Like a $50 2-pack, that's an easy sell. Like a lot of like NECA stuff is $50. So like
Yeah,
Ringside's
I
probably going to
honestly
offer what, like $30 for a single figure?
I can see being a little bit more. Um,
I was thinking somewhere between like 28 and 32. So I'd landed on 30 because that's the halfway point. But like I think Zombie would be best served at 30 to 35, but I don't know the financial particulars of everything obviously.
yeah, yeah,
30
it's
to
just
35 feels like people will be happy, and also 30 to 35 feels like something you can easily get into a store.
it feels so like all over the place right now, and maybe that's just me not like paying attention. But when it comes to like pricing, especially when you got KWK announcing like $15 for figures, and then you've got like the roadies which are like 50, and then you've got like other brands which are like Mitch charges more for a single figure, and it's like all over the place, and it's hard for me to like keep track of what the averages are and general pricing when it comes to figures now. It's just like I look at a single product and I'm like, is this worth it for this price? Yeah, okay, add to cart.
Yeah, that's kind of if it's 30 or 35 for the zombie figures, I think I'm still going to do the two of everybody but Philman. If
Yeah.
they're at 40, if they're at 40, 45, it becomes, but also again, competitive price. What is basically everything at in stores now? 25 to 20, say 20 to $35.
Yeah, and
So,
if you can't keep up with that price, that's where these smaller brands are gonna have trouble, right? It's like, are people gonna
and
be willing to spend more when they're a lot more expensive than what they can buy in stores? We'll see.
yeah, and like I said earlier, like the squeeze of like names being signed. And
Mm,
obviously, Zombie has people long term deals. Like he said in 2023, he has exclusive rights on Bundy until 26. He better get that fucking figure out this year then.
yeah, absolutely.
Because, like I said earlier, people are going to look at price point and is the figure good enough? It doesn't have to be good, it just has to be good enough. And, like, I think those Road Warriors are very good, a little skinny, but it is what it is. People are probably going to be more willing to pay the 55 for those than if Zombie did a 6-inch 2-pack that was like 100.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Never mind that, like, there's a high chance, just based on everything we've seen, a 6-inch Zombie 2-pack would be significantly better in terms of like the sculpting and the quality of the figures. You're going to go for what's cheaper because it's good enough. It's not going to look like shit on my shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most interesting aspect of this upcoming, if you want to call it a figure war. That's like the most interesting aspect, is the pricing and what's going to be the breaking point. Because if Ringside and Zombie can get their figures to 30 or 35 for the individuals, you're in the wheelhouse of the Ultimate line at that point. I think people would be really, really receptive to 30 for single figures, which is, it's still more than I'd like to pay, but that's the reality of the action figure market right now. And yeah, we'll see. I hope at some point this month we're talking about the Savage and 6-inch figure pre-orders going up. And I was saying this earlier. I would take Public Enemy down. Like, I'd send out the email right now, midnight, they're going down. And I would use the Monday through Thursday this week to reveal the 6-inch figures and do the pre-orders on Friday. And I'd let them run for the whole month.
Yeah.
Because you can add the Savage pre-orders like to the 6-inch pre-orders at some other point in the month. Because it's been 2 years, man. Other people are starting to step into that market now. You can't. Yes, the figures are going to be very high quality. Yes, they're going to be worth the wait. Like I said, in stock, good enough, price point, that's going to decide it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we'll see going forward. But that'll do it for this week.
I made it. I'm not dead.
Thank God. It's been 3 hours. So I hope everybody that liked that one time we did a podcast that was like an hour, I hope they enjoyed that. That's never happening again. But next week we'll preview the AEW pay-per-view because it's on a Sunday again, because God forbid we keep those on Saturday. And I'm sure there will be news and other assorted things to talk about. I'll have made another comic shop trip. You can hear about how badly I damaged my bank account doing that. And Daredevil Born Again will have premiered, so I'll have a lot of things to say, I'm sure, about the 2 episodes that are going up this week. And yeah, so that'll be it. No specific topics. These aren't special reports. They're just episodes now. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to say this off air, but we'll just leave this in. The special report should just be reserved at this point for like actual current game reviews. Everything else can just be an episode, I think.
Honestly, I just feel like having everything as episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The special reports can just be renamed like episode insert number here 0.5.
Yeah, the previous ones I'll just leave as is, but anything in the future, I think it's just going to be straight up episode. Fun fact:
it's easier to keep track of.
Yeah, when I was making the YouTube channel, I didn't realize that you could just add an RSS feed to YouTube. Like I didn't know that was they had that capability where it would just convert it into a video.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's when I was uploading them previously to my personal channel. I was like making videos for them. So this saves me a lot of time. All I have to do is make thumbnails. So yeah, that's been super helpful. So if anyone, for whatever reason, if you don't want to listen to Spotify anymore, Amazon, whatever the case, YouTube is an option. As I said too previously on the previous episode, there are some matches from All Japan Women up on there now from PlayStation. That I was putting on through a DuckStation emulator. So it's like the best that game it can look, I guess. And I also, as I said earlier, uploaded the Terminator 2D announcement trailer. I'll probably be uploading some more things. On my personal channel, I have a video for how to add your own music to King of Colosseum 2, so I think I'll re-up that onto the Critical channel as well, since it's related. And maybe I'll put some other gameplay stuff on there. Like I do want to. I've said it several times. I've said it more times than Pat McAfee complaining about Canadians booing the national anthem. But Acts of Blood, I want to upload some gameplay onto our channel because that's something that I'm very much looking forward to, and I definitely want other people to check out as well. There's that game too that's like Fear 98 or something, which is like Silent Hill 2 combined with FIFA 98.
I saw. Yeah, that's an interesting little.
It's so fucking crazy. I downloaded the demo, so I'll be checking that out maybe later today. So maybe I'll put something up on that. We'll see. So yeah, a lot of stuff going up on the channel.
I'm gonna try out that tactical Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that they put the demo up during Steam Next Fest. I'm a sucker for a tactical turn-based game, and for whatever reason, my early 30s are when I decided I fucking love the Turtles. So it's apparently really good too. On top of all of that, so
I'll have to check it out as well.
yeah, it looks pretty neat. I'm hoping this year we get an update. I mean, I know I said we were wrapping it up, but I'm just going to say this: WrestleMania weekend, we're allegedly getting an update on Bit Reactor's turn-based tactical game that people keep calling an RTS. Even though if you read all the stuff from Bit Reactor, it's a fucking tactical game. Those are not the same thing. I'm curious what a turn-based tactics Star Wars game even looks like. Like what era of the franchise they set it in. Personally, I don't got a problem if you want me to replay like everything chronologically, but I have a feeling they're gonna set it. How do I put this? They're gonna set it within like the gaps between one of the big movies, and it'll be like you don't actually see any of the big characters. Is kind of what I'm fearing.
Mm.
But it's gonna be it's gonna be cool to see Star Wars being done in that way because it's never been.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not even like the biggest Star Wars guy, but I do dig a good Star Wars video game. I love the first two Battlefront games. Huge fan of uh, Dark Forces. Loved KOTOR. Masters of Terrakasi, whichever pronunciation you want to use. That game was like my favorite game on the PlayStation for a minute when I was a kid, and then I got the internet and found out that everybody thought it sucked. But yeah, so next week we're gonna talk a whole bunch of dumb bullshit again because that's what this podcast is. We're not under any pretense that this podcast covers any one thing anymore. So
No.
yeah, we'll see y'all next week to talk AEW Revolution, comics, action figures, video games, Stardom. Yes, we'll get an update on Stardom. I was gonna say something else, but I've lost it. Oh, we'll do the Zombie Sailor pre-order tracker again.
Oh God. Yeah.
That's going to be a recurring segment until that shit gets announced. Now you watch that son of a bitch will announce them this week because I said that. Probably not though. But yeah, shout outs to everybody. Play video games, collect action figures. Most importantly, read comics. Take care and don't be an asshole. And to hell with neo-Nazis.